sumptuous meal, we welcome each of you to another treat of thoughts for the afternoon session. Om Shri Sai Ram. A very good afternoon to everyone present here and those listening to this Finance Conclave 2026 virtually. The morning session gave us valuable perspectives from two distinguished leaders how finance focuses on evolving beyond traditional boundaries towards ethical governance and dharmic leadership. We are now set to bring back that energy back into the hall as the second half of the conclave promises to be just as engaging and insightful. Let me quickly ask a question. Who are the voices of tomorrow? Absolutely right. So absolutely it's all of us who are going to become the voices of tomorrow. We now move into a segment where these ideas are reflected upon and expressed by our young minds. The students will be discussing on the topic Global Shocks, Local Lives, the local household impact debate. Through this discussion, we will gain a broader perspective on how elements like interest rates, currency movements, and global events are interconnected and influence key areas such as treasury risk, taxation, and financial planning in today's rapt world. I now request all the student speakers to kindly come forward and take their seats as I call out your names. Miss Sai Srilekha, first MBA. Miss Gaurika, third BCom. Miss Sai Shrishti, first MBA. Miss Lahiri, third BCom. Miss Vallika, first MBA. With this, now the floor is yours.
Sairam and Namaskaram to everyone present here. Today we are presenting Kahani Ghar Ghar Ki to you people. So there is a family, a middle class family from Nagpur. Rajesh, who runs a small hardware store where his wife manages the household budget. He has 2 children and a home loan at the same moment. Every month what they do, they figure out that what really our cash flows are in and outflows are there. So, but the thing is, what happens, in past 2 weeks, everything shifted for them because their LPG cylinder prices just went up like that. Second, what happened, their business cost just rose sharply. And thirdly, the interest rates just revised upward. So now Rajesh is in the situation where he had no answer for this. So
Actually, here is the answer. Rajesh may not have the answer. But Rajesh or the Agarwals, they did not vote for US monetary policy. They have nothing to do with the Middle East tensions that are going on. But still, the world found them. This is the world we are operating in today. Everything is interlinked. And in my view, businesses are not just managing performance today, but they are actively managing uncertainty itself.
Exactly, Vallika. I agree to it. As soon as you said uncertainty, what comes to my mind is the treasury. Because treasury, to give you a meaning for it, it's a strategic management of a company's cash, asset and liability. So in simple terms, treasury is where the outside world meets the balance sheet. Let's take an example. An example of an Indian airline service provider. Say Indigo. Indigo's revenue is in rupees, but the cost, especially the fuel cost, which is linked to the global oil crisis, is in dollars. So So, the oil prices have increased, the dollar has strengthened, but rupee has depreciated. So now Rajesh or say Indigo, they'll be able to buy the same quantity of the product but at an expensive rate. Same product, more expensive. So this leads to double exposure risk, which means both the commodity and the currency becomes expensive at the same time. So in my opinion, I feel treasury is not just about cash in and cash out. It's about predicting the cash flows, managing the receivables and the payables, and also deciding when to convert these foreign currency to minimize your risk. So in simple terms, treasury is not just managing cash, but it's about how vulnerable are we to the global crisis.
But here's a question. If the company knows that the prices and exchange rate can fluctuate so much, why don't they just lock the rate at a right time rather than and just eliminate the risk?
Well, I have an answer to this question of yours, Lahiri. And this is where things get interesting. Have you, or any of you for that matter, bought something and suddenly the price has dropped the very next day, right? And that feeling of, yaar, thoda sa wait kar lete. Now imagine this same mistake when you're buying a smartphone, or for that matter, hundreds and crores of rupees in case of corporates. Now that's where hedging comes in. For example, let us take the example of Hindustan Unilever. The input costs for it is palm oil. Palm oil is their main inputs which they get, and also the crude oil, because crude oil is linked to your packaging. Plastics is made from crude oil. Now the prices of these two commodities haven't been smooth recently. They have jumped, they have fallen, and they have jumped again. So in this scenario, what decision does Hindustan Unilever take? Let's hedge the input costs.
But here I would urge us all to take a pause and consider the adverse outcomes that is possible because of hedging. Let's say, what if the companies hedge when the prices are high and the prices fall the next month? They're stuck with high costs. Or at the same time, if they don't hedge and the prices spike the next month, high costs again. So how do you deal with that?
Well, that's what we call a classic trade-off. Good point to bring up. And this is where it exactly hits us as consumers. At times we see soap prices or shampoo prices going up, or sometimes the packet sizes shrink. But then, in my view, today companies don't want to be perfect anymore. They're just trying to be less wrong.
Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree, but then what I feel that when it comes to taking a decision like hedging, so hedging is all about connected different types of risk, but taking simultaneously. At the same time, we are taking the decision. Just think about it, default risk, financial risk, interest rate risk, or any other
Demand
of
risk.
course, of
You
course.
mean to say all risks are happening together, right?
Yes, yes. So when every risk is happening together, so company just can't take an action like that randomly. They are following, what I think they are following a series or technique or same, what I should say,
A structured method of
of course,
decision making.
Of course. So
I have a point to add here. Since you brought up the structured technique, in my understanding, I think there are 4 steps in the technique. First is identification. So you identify what can go wrong. Is it my demand? Is it my financing? Or is it my cost, etc. The second one, you are measuring the what can go wrong. You are measuring it. So how much it can go wrong, or how worse can it get? So it talks about measurement. The third one is taking action. So taking action is that there are some risks that we can control. The company can internally control. So to mitigate such risks, the company can take actions. This leads us to the 4th point, that is transfer. Transfer those risks that you yourself cannot control it. Transfer it to whom? To insurers, to your suppliers, and even to your consumers. Maybe in form of reducing the size of the product, like how Maggie and Dairy Milk does, or maybe by increasing the price also, right?
So you basically mean what, when, to whom, and how.
Exactly, you got my point.
But now there's a catch. Risk management is not about eliminating the risk completely. It's about deciding whether to control the risk or to transfer the risk. Earlier, the risks were isolated, but now everything is interconnected. So, interconnectivity, it brings me to a question. Every small decision a company takes, it will have a ripple effect because everything is interconnected here.
And actually, this is exactly what we call as a chain reaction risk, right? So it's basically one event doesn't cause just one problem, but a sequence of problems. And it begins with one thing and it leads to one after the other. So in such a scenario, companies don't just ask or try to meet one risk at a time, but they need to devise plans to mitigate multiple risks. So in such a scenario where you are dealing with not just one crisis, but a living, breathing system that is all interconnected, and we don't have time to address one at a time as such.
Actually, this interconnected risk becomes real when we look at debt. A question that's coming to me right now is that is debt inevitable or has it become fundamentally unpredictable? Because debt or long-term borrowing is no longer just a financing tool. Rather, it has become a moving variable shaped by global forces, right?
Exactly. An example is coming to my mind. So, let's take an Indian company. This company has borrowed ECB, external commercial borrowing. Maybe it has taken a loan of like $10 million in 2023, we can say, at 3% interest. So, at that time, the Indian dollar exchange was around 85 rupees, if you keep. But now today, the same loan is very expensive. Why? Because the rupee has depreciated. If I am not wrong, yesterday, as per my what I read, yesterday was the lowest that the rupee hit. It was 94.15. Where is 80, 85, and where is 94? So it adds to the cost. So this is called as invisible cost escalation, if I am not wrong, which is adding pressure to the financial statements too.
And when we talk about this pressure on balance sheet risk, let's just take some real life examples. Just pass the mic, thanks. So let's take Tata Steel for example. They have recently, you have their asset monetization and deleveraging as their strategies because of exchange rate pressures and currency pressures. Then you look at Adani Group, they have also gone for deleveraging and now they are focusing more on towards the domestic funding. And even Reliance Industries for that matter has maintained a disciplined balance sheet, what we call it as. So what we infer here is that debt or debt management is no more, or even balance sheet risk management it's no more a tactic. Now it has become strategic, and like companies have like it's parallels which are opening that companies are now acting as not companies, but the finance vertical is acting as a strategic partner to a business.
In fact, this leads us all to the bigger question. What about the capital structure as a whole? Exactly, right? See, in stable times, that definitely looks attractive. Cheaper cost, higher returns. But the cost of debt is not just restricted to interest. It also involves risk factors like currency risk, refinancing risk, and cash flow volatilities. So companies nowadays have to rethink about their capital mix as a whole. And in fact, earlier, the focus was pretty simple. Borrow more, expand faster, and improve returns. But now, the thinking pattern, or more or less the understanding, has been evolving. We need to ask questions like, what is the ideal capital structure? In fact, how much of debt is safe today? And how do we optimize or structure capital to balance growth in uncertain conditions?
Exactly. I think this leads to one more domain. Where do all these pressures fall on? Nothing but cash flow, right? Because profits are accounted, but cash is reality. So let's take example of our Agarwal ji himself. Now Agarwal ji has to pay a higher amount for his raw material. He has to pay higher interest for his home loan, and his customers are not paying him. It means there is a delay in his customers' repayment. So what is happening here? The cash outflows are more than what he is receiving. What is this creating?
Cash flow squeeze.
Exactly. Cash flow squeeze is being created. So, when there is since profit is not equal to cash, therefore this is where the businesses are directly facing pressure.
Absolutely. And in fact, when this pressure is felt across the industries, it doesn't just become a business issue, right? It escalates into a policy level challenge, and exactly when the government is required to step in. So we have seen fuel duty cuts when price hikes, and other targeted subsidies for essentials, and in fact other government measures like capex push, exactly, fiscal support, capex push. So all of these is aimed at ultimately like keeping inflation in check, protecting the end consumer, and finally most importantly, keeping the demand alive. Because when demand falls, it's not just about inflation, it's more of, it affects the economic growth. So in that case, I think policy level changes are also a factor to be considered.
Yes, when we are talking about capital structure, one thing what comes into my mind that capital structure is not just about supporting strategically, but what I feel that today it's not just the survival of the fittest anymore. What I would feel that it's a survival for the swiftest for the robust financial system. So,
Coming to government policy or the physical policy, actually, isn't there this classic trade-off that lower taxes means lower government revenue, and higher physical spending means higher physical deficit for the government, right?
That is there. In fact, according to the recent Economic Times report, the current fiscal deficit is hovering around 4.4%. Yes, so that basically indicates, according to my reading, that the government is in balancing between growth and discipline. It's already walking the path between growth and discipline. So here the point is that the pressure doesn't just disappear, like the risk that we saw. It just gets passed on from the corporates to the government.
Exactly. I'll just add a point here. Since government intervention was being discussed here, in my view, as per my understanding, even the government intervention is there, but still the company has to pay tax, it has to manage its cash flow, and also stay competitive globally. So therefore, I feel that taxation acts as a bridge between the policy intent and the business reality.
Definitely, but it's not as simple as it sounds, Shrishti, here. Because see, if taxes are reduced, of course the corporate gets relief, but fiscal stresses increases, right, for the government. On the other hand, if the if the taxes have increased, government revenue increases, but again, corporate margins or the business firms' margins shrink. And one more point, we need to discuss about the pain point here. How long will the government keep absorbing the shock?
Yes, so when we are talking about, you pointed out to the fact that the risk is changing hands from, so continuing with that point, right now this price shocks which we are seeing, the point is what is the pain point of India, as you ask, where does India stand in this entire picture, right? So till today we see that the price hikes have not been completely passed on to the consumers. We see that the corporates are absorbing the shock and the government is absorbing to some extent. But then again the question comes is that for how long can this happen and how far can it go? Estimates say that more 2 to 3 months. So it's like, it's just a matter of when, it's just a matter of time.
So when we started our discussion, we started in Nagpur, kitchen in Nagpur. But then it never started in Nagpur. Actually, where it started in some boardrooms or in a central banks far away. But whatever happened till now, or whatever will happen, it doesn't even affect only one businessman, Rajesh. It affects all the other small businessmen
across India who get affects by all the scenario which is currently we are facing. And then Rajesh doesn't even know what really is happening into the world. He's having no connection with geopolitics. But then what really happens is his kitchen table is connected to all the commodity markets, all the global decisions or central bank decisions. So
Even to,
hedging
yeah,
contracts.
exactly. Even to hedging and fiscal and monetary policies and taxation policies. Geopolitical tensions, yes. So, but the thing is, they or Rajesh's family did not know. But now we know, or rather we are trying to know at our best. The government, the central bank of a nation, the government of a nation, and the corporates. These three are like the three musketeers. Each one's decision impacts the other, and it's like one for all and all for one.
So what we have tried to build a risk strategy like a game of Clash of Clans uh, based on our academic understanding and the textbook knowledge that we have. So now, since we have the boardroom warriors here who rate the warfare every day in this corporate world, we humbly request you to share your experience by answering our questions.
So, if I can just quickly put forth the questions. First one is, in what ways has Treasury evolved from just cash management to proactive shock prediction, and what metrics do you actually use to assess the vulnerability? Second, you'll go on? Yeah, sure.
So the second is, how do you prioritize risk, like which to keep, which to manage, which to mitigate, but at the same time which to transfer? So the question that I would like to ask is, we saw about cash flows. We saw about cash flow squeezes because of the customer delay in payment and the input costs have increased. So how do you counteract it? That's one point. And the second one is, what are the techniques that in the real time that we use in predicting the cash flows in a Barney world, that is a brittle, anxious, non-linear and incomprehensible environment like this?
Earlier in the discussion, we were discussing about the concept invisible cost escalation, where the loan for the company has become more expensive because of rupee depreciation and other geopolitical tensions. So how do we mitigate cost escalation? At an individual level, as for Rajesh, he has taken a home loan. So the cost has become more expensive for him too. So at an individual level and at the company level too.
And my question is about financial strategy. Like, we have established that the environment is dynamic and constantly evolving. So in this dynamic tax environment, like, how do businesses and companies build financial strategy when the rules of the game are constantly evolving? That's it from our side. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, students, for that powerful discussion that you are having. We are yet to receive the answers from the dignitaries who will be addressing on these topics, and they will dwell on these all your questions when their turn comes, and they will address you, and you can learn much more from their interactions. Thank you so much.
Let's give another big round of applause to all of the student speakers. I would like to sincerely thank all of the student speakers for their swift chain of thoughts to explain finance in such a simple and memorable manner, using Agarwalji's household example to explain complicated terminologies and to explain terms like invisible escalation, treasury, exchange rates, cash flow squeeze in this dynamic world. With this, now it is my privilege to introduce yet another distinguished speaker, Mr. Anand Shastri, Chief Financial Officer of Hangyo Ice Creams Private Limited and an accomplished alumnus of our very own institution, Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning. Welcome back home, sir. Mr. Anand Shastri completed his MBA in Finance from SSS IHL and subsequently qualified as a chartered accountant. Sir commenced his professional journey with Deloitte and later joined ITC Limited as assistant manager, gaining valuable experience in financial reporting, month-end close processes, and operational finance. He then went on to build an extensive career with Tata Consumer Products over a period of more than 9 years, where he demonstrated consistent progression through key leadership roles from manager to vice president. During this tenure, Sir was deeply involved in financial planning and analysis, business and financial modeling, performance management, and strategic decision support, contributing meaningfully to organization growth and value creation. In his current role as Chief Financial Officer at Hangyo Ice Creams Private Limited, Mr. Anand Shastri is responsible for steering financial strategy, strengthening governance, and partnering with business leadership to drive sustainable and value-based growth. He will now address us on the topic, Beyond the Numbers, the CFO as a business partner, not a scorekeeper. May I now request Mr. Anand Shastri to kindly address the gathering. Mr. Anand Shastri.
Om Shri Sai Ram. My pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Actually, I'm feeling very nostalgic. It's not prepared from the heart. It feels very great to be back here. I don't know, 15 years back or, yeah, 2007 I passed out. Sir was my teacher, right? And I know when Sir is the dean, he will ensure you are in safe hands. Rest assured, I went on to do my CA, post-MBA, out of my mom's compulsion. It was not my personal choice. Let me be very frank, because something I'll cover why we need to be frank. I have never attended any courses of CA. Just right out of MBA I wrote. There is support from my friends, so don't leave your friends. What you're making here is friends for lives, right? They don't tell this in a presentation, but I'm saying that. When you're in trouble, these friends will give you a hand. So be there. The teachers will guide you, and rest you will make history. Okay, so second, I would like to say, no need to take notes. There's nothing new I'm going to say. From the morning, whatever my topics have been told by the entire entire speakers. So you can relax, right? Whenever you feel like you want to move out, please move out. No problem, no hard feelings. Okay? Okay, so let's go to the topic. I want to know how you picture a CFO as, right? You guys use Google, ChatGPT. If you put the question, you get the answer, right? Someone sitting in the corner office, right? He'll be holding the budgets. He'll be taking pen and paper, striking off, right? Some of the cash squeezers, debt trap, he'll be worried about it. But in reality, the CFO does not do all these things. He is the same guy or a girl who will go back to the office and see the same risk, but at an elevated level, that's all. Nobody is going to sit in a corner office and do the business. So rest assured, you guys are on the right track. You had a discussion here, we also have a discussion over there. We also have difference of opinion, but at the end of the day, we take the right decision to team spirit. That's what a CFO is required to do. CFO is, this is the exact line which Mr. Anantaraman sir told us when we were doing the MBO. CFO, I'm just recording him, see the depth on it. Finance function is like a nerves in the body. It connects everything. If you have pain or a niggle in your hand, it tells you it is there over there, right? If nerve is blocked, you know what are the consequences happens. So finance is like the blood flow which helps you to connect. So let's see from that angle. And even if you are not a finance student, rest assured, finance is not going to keep any other streams away. Everybody has to come back to the finance. So better get literate on finance. Broadly, this is my today's topic. There are 4 topics I would like to cover. Not even topics, it's my experience. The first thing is, as I said, finance is not in particular location or in organizational chart. It's in the business. We will deep dive. I will take you through few examples, in real life examples, how does we all actually impact them. The second thing is how technology is impacting the finance. And today, I'm pretty sure you guys are well versed in chat GPTs, cloud, and this presentation, by the way, is made from cloud. I have not made it. So I'm the honest confession, right? I don't, because I have multi other things to do, but I gave the right prompt to it and it developed it. So be smart, invest your time, but invest your time on thinking. We'll deliver some topics on this too. The third is, what does the young generation look like, especially you, right? What are the things you get on the table which everybody looks forward? And what are the couple of things which I feel that you can do better? And last but not the least, which is a core, and I think more emphasis on integrity piece of it. Okay, so let's roll. Very simple, I'm going to take you to 4 virtual rooms. This really happened in my entire career. Some happened recent and some in past. The first room which I would take you is, this was early on in my career, ITC. We were having quarterly sales discussion. My job was very simple. I was supposed to take a distributor analysis report and present to the sales team. And they will just review it in and out 10 minutes. No hush push. We just started the meeting, normal business meeting. It turned into a crisis. You know why? There was one distributor who was associated with the ITC for almost 10 years. He had not billed the invoices for almost 3 weeks. The sales team were worried that some relationship issue, is he moving to competitor? That's why they worried. The supply chain team were worried that maybe the inventory is the issue. Let's reallocate the inventory if he's not billing, because everybody is driving their own KPI. That's what you should take this from. A sales head drives his KPI of sales. A supply chain drives his KPI of OTIF. Suddenly, someone hand raises. The finance guy. He asks, what's the outstanding due? The whole conversation stops. It is not about relationship management now. It's not about OTIF fulfillment. It's about real money. His due to the company was almost 62 lakhs. A significant portion. More than that, we were looking, the distributor is key to my revenue growth. The entire discussion now steered on how to get back to the business. So here what we are taking home is that finance is not counting money here. Actually, finance needs to read the story behind the numbers. These numbers will not be given by your chat GPT or a Claude AI. You need to be in depth. You need to understand. Keep probing. This is the theme which I would like to put it today. My entire discussion on this today is keep probing. This is what been, at least I was taught. All your questions, everything is on probing. It's not about culling out answer from one GPTs and putting the answer. So let's go to the next virtual room. This is a classic supply chain issue. In supply chain, OTIF is the mantra. OTIF, you guys know what is OTIF? Anybody? On-time fill, yes, correct. So OTP is very simple. If somebody places an order, how fast you can fill the order and how 100% can you fill it. Both are there. You can fill an order after 2 weeks, you can fill an order in 1 day, right? You can fill it 50%, you can fill it 100%. So both are important, on-time infill. So this happened that one of our hubs had a very poor OTIF, 61%. And it was peak of season, the ice cream season, the hot season, as hot as now how it is. The supply chain team was working on how to get the stock in. They were thinking, is it because of truck breakdown? The sales team were sending the salesmen to the market and seeing what's the issue, is the credit issue. But silently, the finance guy in the room was not worried on this because he is seeing far. What he's seeing is that the 61% fill rate means almost a 2 crore loss of revenue, right? And you know that what is cash squeeze? It's real, right? An EBITDA of 2 crores means you are discussing on somewhere close to around 60 lakhs impact on cash. There the finance team comes in. He stops. Yes, forget the OTIF. I want whole team to go there and solve the issue in next 1 week. Because the investors who has invested the money in ours, he is not going to wait for the next 6 months for me to get back. If you don't have the ice cream tonight, you will not have the ice cream tomorrow. Why? You lost the opportunity to have ice cream. By the way, you will get the ice cream today. So, we should understand, as a finance professional, you are in a unique seat. That unique seat is that you are not involved in the business. You don't have a single KPI to drive. You can step back. This is also I learned in MBA. This is called helicopter view. Have you been taught this? Okay, this is also same, Anantaraman sir taught us. It's a helicopter view, right? So all what you're learning here will be utilized. What is helicopter view? You are neither depth and going on the ground, neither you are very far away. You are at a stage where you can look what's happening. You can connect the dots. So that's what you guys will be doing in the next few years to come. And it's not related to finance in any profession you take. Okay, this is very interesting. It's all real life examples I'm seeing. So we cracked a deal with very great chocolate manufacturing company with good name. There was full of cakes cutting, bottles breaking, balloons breaking everywhere. The marketing team was gung-ho about it. They were counting money. But silently, a 40-page contract was handed over to me. I went through the contract, and there are few of the clauses which I saw on IP rights. They told that if the agreement gets terminated, the IP rights belongs to them. What happens to my market, which I have created? Right? Real life commercial question. You have put your time, you have put your resources, you develop the product, and the IP rights is with someone else. Second, you have been left with all the packing materials. Suddenly, one fine day, sitting in US, someone writes the check telling that, okay, we'll stop Indian operations. What happens to the inventory, what I'm laying? It's a real risk. Cash flow risk. Reputational risk. You are losing a customer or a consumer. And the third is the interest part of it, right? Very high credit squeeze, somebody sitting over there charging 18% interest. So these are real life contracts which you will go through it, right? You will have to step up, read these contracts. You should not feel that you are not asking the right question. You should ask the right question. Telling on capital employed and all. So this is a real life example. As an ice cream company, I invest in freezers. My annual investment in freezers is more than 30 crores. Why do I invest in freezers? When you step out from college, when you go down to any retail store, you can find a Hangyo brand. The retailer uses it. He feels he's the owner of it. The money is paid by the company. Okay? Right? So that's my capital goes in. So we had around 15 to 18 months back an investor coming in. He saw our ice cream. He saw our growth rates. He was very happy. He saw our presence. So he thought, okay, from 2-state company we can go to 7-state company. So he invested money. In his calculations, he assumed a certain return, in this case 10,000 per month of one freezers. But when we saw that, due to any impact, like macroeconomic impact, or like the person who's sitting in Nagpur did not feel like having one ice cream, right? That impacts me as a sale if he's in Karnataka, right? So all this was impacting the productivity, and that was impacting my return, right? Simple, you would have done all these problems in your BComs and MBAs, return on capital employed. This is a real life example. How do we protect it? That's the exact thing the finance guy does is, he calls back. We called back all our senior team. We made them show the numbers geographically. We saw where was the productivity falling. We asked them to put the framework. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But the more you pursue yourself, it will work. So there are few stories which I have told here. The importance of finance is far reaching. You can drive the business. You can drive the top line, you can drive the bottom line, and you can also drive the capital employed, right? So let's go to the next part of my speech. Using tools, right? As I said, I use the tool for making the presentation. My team also uses it very well. And trust me, the marketing team uses very well. Okay? Because marketing team likes to project. So, one of my previous organization, we launched a new product. It was going good. 6 months down the line, the revenue were very much increasing. We were looking into it. It was too good to be true, at least for the finance folks, because we are skeptic, right? Always, the skepticism needs to be there. That balances out, right? Someone is optimistic, someone is a realistic, someone is skeptic. Then what we did? We actually decomposed the revenue, and you will see this. Anyone can explain what is it? Take a shot, no problem. There are no right or no wrong answers. Come on guys, you guys in next 1 month you'll be going to a corporate, you can't sit like this. Come on, someone can take the lead. Yeah. Anyone? It's okay, nothing is wrong. I have spoken wrong answers and right in my life. Be rest assured. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is the new stores that are adding revenue, and that is pushing up the revenue, the total revenue. But if you are decomposing the revenue into the revenue of the older stores versus the revenue of the newer stores in the newer location, you have demand, probably because of the marketing tools or whatever has been used. So that is driving up your aggregate revenue.
Yeah, exactly. This is the issue. Please. So what does the input the tool would have been given? Telling that this is my revenue, please project it. It was never cut with same stores. It was never cut with geography. It was never cut with any other parameters. This is an example I'm saying. You will find real life examples when you step into it. I can recollect what's happening to Zudio. You can please do a chat GPT, right? What's happening to Zudio? 1 year back, 2 years back, where were there and now there. See. So the point here is that when you see a number, try to look under the hood. The sum of the parts needs to make the aggregate. You should not stay at aggregate. If you stay at aggregate, you will not know what is driving it. Rest assured, a finance person can easily do it, which a supply chain or sales or a marketing guys will not be able to do it. That's the exact reason he has taken a marketing as his majors, not finance as his majors, right? But I would say if there are marketing students here, please spend time with your finance guys right? Because they will be their friend in your whole lifetime. If you make a finance guy unhappy, he will know where he will land. Every time he will knock CFO's door. So this is, I think, more is said on chat GPTs. Just putting an example, I used to make a report on a weekly basis. I used to hand that time procurement of tea in Tata Consumer. I used to be very proud of making the reports every week. In the midnight, I used to make the report so that Monday morning or Tuesday morning, I could send it. By the time the report hits my head procurement, it's already obsolete. Because he'll open it and he'll see that data is already I know. The week is past. How the data has changed is that today, when I walk into my cabin, already for the day, for the previous day, what are the 21 hub sales I already know. It's already delivered in my mobile application. I know which salesman has sold what and who has not sold. I know which geography is selling and which has not sold. I know which tactical intervention my sales team has taken is working or not working. And by the way, this is not only sales. There are many things which we do, whether it can be productivity, it can be cost escalations, everything. So the point is, you need to ensure that when you use a tool, especially in current scenario, how it is adding value. Maybe next slide. Yeah, this is a good slide. Before we go to this slide, initially data used to be the value, right? People who knew information were valued. Classic example, as someone was telling about Harshad Mehta. He knew information, he knew how to do. It was not democratized. After some time, the collection of data became. The big MNCs which came to India, you know why I think why big MNCs succeeded in India? Because they had a process of collecting data and evaluating. So they started collecting of data. They were two notch above the local Kirana store or local brand. They could exactly know which geography is going to grow, which is not going to grow. They exactly know which scheme to give to them to grow. Right? So that data collection became a value. Data organization became a value. Data interpretation is a value. At least when I joined, data interpretation was a value. But today, the data interpretation is not a value. Any guesses? Who is interpreting the data today? Wow, you are just ready for the corporate world. Okay? Exactly. So where does you stand in that? Any guesses? Okay, I will tell. The biggest thing which everybody carries is the judgment. At the end of the day, whatever you say, it is gigo. Fundamentally, it is gigo. It can be gigo in olden times, input, output, garbage in, garbage out. AI is also doing the same thing. You put the same prompt, change the sentences, change the order, change the syntax, the answers will be different. Add 2-3 variables, the answer is different. Remove one variable, the answer is different. Now who will decide which variable to put in? That is you guys, right? You need to ensure that what you are going to put in makes the sense. Classic example, I'll ask one more question. I have a team who does not know the Excel, or knows very basic Excel. He does not know how to make a dashboards. He's not flowery. But I have one more individual who can cull out the data from ERP, who makes beautiful dashboards, and he can turn around, right? Whom will you give support? To the Excel guy or to the guy who is very flowery, expert in dashboarding? He'll make your life simple in 2 hours by giving beautiful dashboards. Whom will you support? Sorry? The second guy, right? Right, everybody second guy. Trust me, I don't trust the second guy. You know why? The first guy, at least I know that he doesn't know something, so I know I can ask him 3 questions and solve it. The second guy, I'll give you an example. He showed a graph in the board meeting. February we did, let's assume, 28 crores, and March we did 31 crores. And he told it's a growth. Do you agree? Do you agree? Why? Sorry? Someone was telling? Year end. Sorry? No, not exactly. Correct. So why will I trust a person who has not applied his mind, telling that just because 28 days are there, he got 28 crore, and 31 days, he got a 31 crore. Our run rate has been same. Correct. So what he had to do was, before he would have presented, he would have just thought through, right? I'm pretty sure you guys are already smart. You guys are discussing about credit default risk, credit squeeze. So all these will be piece of cake for you guys. But just give some time on thinking. Oh, okay. I think some video is playing. Okay. Okay, now you know how to use the technology, right? I hope the faculty members will now take away your chat GPTs. So what does I see your generation as? I have recruited a lot of people. I sit with them. I have burned midnight oils. And trust me, I also spend a lot of time, and they are not very happy with me also. Okay? But what I see in them, you are not afraid to ask why, right? You can really walk in and ask why. The confidence in you is far superior than when we were there. I am pretty sure Shivkumar sir remembers, if you had to organize something like this, he would have started preparing 2 months back. He would have already identified the good speakers. He had to stage it, right? It's very difficult. We were very shy. We were in our own world. We used to tell, Swami is there, he will take care. Correct? It's a blind faith. We'll jump on the well and Swami is there, we'll take care of it. We will do well in our life, right? But I really see this generation coming out. You should see the difference, right? The second thing is, I'm very happy that you guys are comfortable with uncertainty. At least we were not. So when I used to prepare for a meeting, I used to have a 100 questions cheat sheet in my pocket. What if this? What if this? What if this? Because I will feel very ashamed if someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer. But trust me, your generation is not like that. You guys are okay. 10 questions are there, 8 questions I answered. Well, good. I did not like that chapter, let me leave that chapter fully. Right? So what? If not this job, I will have different job. No, these are real life. But that's good, right? You are already embracing uncertainty. If this same situation would have happened 10 years back, many of the companies would have shut down. Right? Exactly the situation where what we are discussing. We have already embraced COVID. I think that was a life-changing situation, at least for us. I had implemented the entire ERP system of Tata Consumer, which is running, sitting in home for 8 months, not going to office. This is unthinkable. So, we have gone through it. We will also cross. Their human brain is wired to surpass. It only has to use the brain. That's all. Right? We cannot rely on, don't expect the cloud AI to give the answer or a chat GPT to do the answer. Use your brain, take the prompts, understand, validate the data, put it again, get validation, and then get comfort. Digitally savvy, I am pretty sure today also when I go to the board meeting, if I have to explain them how the GPTs work, they say, Anand, let's have this session outside. We are afraid. Right? The good companies are, however, ahead of the curve. They're already investing in technology. And the technology has actually narrowed the gap between the person who can invest in technology and not invest in technology. That's the technological game. If you really want to do a MBA lessons, I'm pretty sure subscribe to some of the online courses, subscribe to any YouTube channels. You will be much ahead. A counterpart who can be half available economically resource can really do well if he is having those resources. Same is the case with companies, right? Today, my digital analysis team is as good as in a Quality Walls who is listed in listed company. I have the same tools. I am also in SaaS model, right? You know SaaS model, right? Do you think it has revolutionized? give you a simple example. If you wanted to have a ERP in good olden days, you had to invest crores of rupees to having a hard disk on a big things. SaaS model has just converted into having a subscription. Today, a company which is as low as 100 crore turnover can have a subscription model on SaaS and still have a good ERP system. So this is going to be cheaper. The companies are going to be cutthroat. The whole universe is going to change because information, knowledge, and resource allocation need not be for long term. Even for a short term, you can yield the result. Obviously, there are pitfalls to it. You can over leverage yourself. You can over leverage to your capabilities, right? You can start a business, assuming it can get 1,000 crores, you may land up in 100 crores, right? There are a lot of incidents. Anybody can name? There's one taxi which started as e-taxi, electronic taxi, EV taxi. Which is a taxi? Correct. What happened to that? Over leveraged, right? They thought it's an exclusive model. So there are pits and falls which you can really do it, but if you do it right way, you can still compete with Ubers and Olas. So this is a classic example. I think you guys will always, when you start your job, you will see. Your senior will give you a set of data. In this example, I have asked, given is the DB performance, distributor performance. The person came out, I told evaluate the DB performance and give me. I would have taken jolly well 1 week to go back to my senior. She came back in 2 hours to me. Very beautiful dashboards. Everything click of the button. I just asked one thing. How do you define underperformance? She told, wait sir, let me ask the GPT. Right? He or she is not wrong. Right? But that's the way we are getting wired. So we should be knowing, use GPTs, but can you define first what is underperformance? We spend good 30 minutes. They identified distributors who were underperforming where because they were not billing it when the scheme was run by the competitor. So we solved for the issue. So let's be smart. Let's use the technology. Technology is your friend. It is going to be your friend. Don't run away from technology. Embrace it. But be wary what the technology is doing to you, right? The amount of data it's collecting about you, the amount of data you can give to the data, into the technology, you will get the reap the benefits. So 2 things I think I would like you guys to work on, which I feel. The first part is on output before understanding. The case which I told you was not isolated case, but I have seen it extensively. Sometimes you have patience to sit with them and explain. Sometimes it's very difficult. I would not blame it as carelessness or otherwise, but I think it is the environment in which the current systems are there. Today, my wife, who is also seeing, I think through YouTube, my kids told I should tell their names, okay? I'll tell at the end of it. So they were saying, if they want to order something, it takes only 10 minutes to order, right? You order it, in 10 minutes, it's delivered in you. You guys are used to fast-paced environment. What has resulted is that there is always an urgency to deliver. किसने first homework दिया? किसने class paper में first खत्म करके गया? किसने project first submit किया? No one asked the name who submitted last, but in our cases we used to be named. Okay, because everybody will submit the project first. I still feel that if you can spend some time before you submit the project, before you write a mail, before you do an analysis, it's very important. Second thing, really this is what I would say to my full colleagues also and my friends and my office team. When I get a mail which is more than 3 lines, I'm definitely sure they have put in ChatGPT and made it 20 lines. You know what I do? I tell I don't want bigger mails, because once you send me bigger mails, I put back in ChatGPT and take out, tell me boss what he's saying, I'm not clear. right? So what you should do in any situation, at least it has worked out for me, what is the situation, evaluate. What is the significance, evaluate, and put the action points. You will be doing a very great job to your seniors when you walk in, right? He will have 10 to 20 things to do about it. You are making his life simple. And in the process, you are making yourself better. You will know that where you want to put your work, right? In my office, everybody knows. Before a meeting starts, I ask, what's ROI of the meeting? ROI you guys don't know, right? Return on investment. If I'm going to spend 30 minutes on the interview or on this discussion, what's the key deliverables we are looking forward? Similarly, hold your time. You can, with technology, you can actually save your time, but the time you are having, utilize it well, right? Now this is the very core of today's discussion, which is the value discussion. This situation really happened. One of the quarter meetings, we were sitting. My investors usually fly down. I was very happy. Trust me, it was not very bad quarter, what I am looking forward. It was a better quarter. My revenues were up, my margins were holding up, so I was very happy. We thought, today we will do cakewalk, no questions, nothing answered. After some time of discussion, the investor leans forward to me and he asked me, Anand, we went through your working capital. We saw your related party work outstanding is 5 times more than the external debtors. Very cold question. Everybody staring at me. Immense 30 seconds. I had 2 ways to answer. I could have given a technically correct answer. Thank God, Sanjay Sani sir, Ruchi sir expected me how to explain an accounting. I could have slowly, strategically pedaled away. I think most of the places you guys also do, right? When you get into uncomfortable situation, sir, we will come back to you later. Sir, we will do it. So at that moment, you are not under pressure. You can soft pedal out. The tension diffuses. I could have done it easily. But I did not do it. I straight away took the question. I explained what was our rationale to give an extended credit. We never thought that would be a situation because we did not think from investors' point of view. We never done any illegal thing. But we thought the processes and we did it. There was a lot more questions, a lot more answers given. But in the end of the day, we had to make a board note, send it, review, and it was closed. 6 months later, the same management or the same investor came to me and told, Anand, we are very happy with your management. And trust me, that time results were very bad. I was wondering why. He told, you chose to give us the true answer when you could have not given. So that's the confidence which the investors had, and that is built. Let me be very frank to you. This situation will arise. May not be in your first job, may not be in your second job, but this situation will arise. You will have your seniors who will be very loud. You will have your seniors asking you to look at a particular number or to drive a particular story. You will have seniors whom you have admired. They would have chosen that path. And it may be business as usual for them to do that. At that point of time, as an individual, you have to make a decision. I have seen professionals. They are not reckless. Eminent professionals. They are tactful. But whenever a big decision is made, they actually consult these professionals who are eminent. You know why? They say what they think. They don't soft pedal. Oh, it will be feel bad to my CEO if I tell this. It will feel bad to the board if I do it. Let me postpone it to the next board meeting. No, they take head on. And trust me, this is not happening in one day. I say it as you are in a saving, you are in a current account and not a savings account. I hope you know the difference between current account and savings account, right? So every time you have withstood a hard answers when comfortable one was available, every time you pointed out a number is a not number, there's a story behind it, which you have highlighted it. Whenever you have flagged off a risk, when everybody was silent, trust me, you have made a deposit. And every time you have been silent when you have to be spoken, or every time you have given a comfortable answer, you have withdrawn. Gradually, this balance has come in, right? You should not reach a point of time when you have forgotten what to say. And eventually it will happen sometimes. I've seen many of my professionals get into that mode. It becomes very difficult. Trust me, here comes Swami's teaching. The full character building has already happened to you. The same Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara. Everything is with you. It's matter of just application. Apply it slowly when you start from the career. My simple suggestion is, at this point of time, you are not being exposed to corporate world. Your stakes are not very high. You know what decision you can take today, that decision you can take now. In that 30-second moment when I was asked, that 30-second moment was culmination of my total studies, what Swami has given to me. So rest assured, you have the time now. Put it, sit quiet, identify what are your do's and don'ts. And if you get into a situation where more don'ts are coming and you are not happy, you please take that call. Right? That's all from my side, right? Any questions you have, I can answer. Okay, on cash squeeze, I will ask. So this was a pretty bad year for most of our FMCG companies because of monsoon coming earlier, FY26. Every company had a EBITDA impact, right? So how do we manage it? See, cash is generated 2 times. When you sell it, second, how do you utilize it? You can plan the cash, right? You can plan the cash, okay, now my investments is going to be slower. But it is at the cost. It's at the cost of growth. Growing companies, if they stop investing cash, then they will not grow. Simple example, if I stop investing in new geographies, my ice cream turnover will not increase. So how do I manage? That's where the finance guys come in. You have to smartly see how much working capital you require. You should smartly see, can I start doing lease financing, right? I need freezers to invest, I can do lease financing, right? Then what I'm doing? I'm matching revenue and my interest or expenses. I can take a term loan also, 5-year term loan. I can take a moratorium of 6 months. First 6 months I will not pay. You know why? I know the year is bad. I'll pay the interest in the last 6 months. So there are ways and means you can come out, right? It's just matter of going back to the basics. Your DCF method, right? In, out, present value. Move the interest rate, balloon, non-balloon, upfront, everything you can do. So rest assured, your subjects are covered that. It's just matter of application on real life. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, sir, for the truly insightful and enriching session. Sir has given us insights to us as how we as students and future young professionals should keep probing questions in a right manner to remind us to keep realistic skepticism and optimism in ourselves. Sir reminded us that actual peddling is in truthful answering, creating real deposits for our own future growth. What stands out in the way you highlighted is the transition from being a financial custodian to becoming a strategic business partner, a perspective that is both relevant and inspiring to all of us here. Sir, we are sure not to miss out on the ice creams that you're providing us on the campus for all the 600 students today. Thank you, sir. I now request Professor N. Shivkumar, Dean, Department of Management and Commerce, to kindly present a token of our appreciation to Mr. Anand Shastri as a small gesture of our gratitude and respect. It is said, great careers are not built in a moment, but through years of consistent learning, adaptability, and the courage to take on greater responsibility. And our next speaker truly reflects this journey through her extensive experience and leadership in the field of finance. It is my privilege to introduce Ms. Kritika Giridhari, a seasoned financial professional with close to 2 decades of extensive experience in treasury and financial planning. A qualified chartered accountant, ma'am has built expertise across a wide spectrum of finance functions, including treasury management, debt raising, investments, accounting, taxation, financial modeling, and strategic planning. Ma'am began her professional journey with Ernst & Young in the field of direct taxation and then went on to work with Toyota Financial Services, where she spent over a decade and held key leadership positions, including heading treasury as well as business planning and strategy. She has her expertise in end-to-end treasury operations, including debt capital market borrowings, external commercial borrowings, hedging strategies, investor relations, asset liability management, and treasury risk management. Besides this, Ms. Kritika Giridhari currently works with Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India Private Limited, which hosts the Treasury Global Capability Center for Asia Pacific region. In her present role, ma'am heads cash management standards and solutions, driving strategy in global treasury operations. Ma'am will be addressing us on the topic of treasury and debt management. We warmly welcome you and request you to address the gathering. Ms. Kritika Giridhari.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's a heavy post-lunch session, but my previous colleague, hats off to him, the way he made us hilarious and made it very, very interactive. I'm sure I couldn't have done that justice. Thank you so much. Before I begin, I would like to thank all the girls or the young ladies who presented the discussion here. I was amazed at the quality of discussion they presented, the kind of choice of words, the kind of training, the kind of knowledge that you've built around it. It's amazing. I was thinking I may be wrong in using some of these treasury jargons, but I was mesmerized with the kind of presentation, with the discussion that you held. And trust me, this is what is value and ethics in business. Just carry them throughout your career, no matter where you grow. This is what is ethics. The rest of them are just operational. And this is what the Institute has given you, hold them as values. I was about to ask if you would know, as future CFOs or CIOs or investment bankers, what your role is supposed to be, or what do you think is your job going to be. But I also went through some of the presentations, the case studies which some of your colleagues had presented outside, which I witnessed post-lunch session. Brilliant job on the kind of research and development that you have done to bring out those papers, the kind of initiative that you have taken to understand, apply your subjects, and bring out the result, and critically analyze what went wrong and what should have been done. The ALM mismatches that they spoke of, the second one on a critical topic of what are going to be the jobs of finance in an AI world. Beautifully taken up. The third one was on gold bonds. I was awestruck on that point. I did not expect somebody to be taking a as recent topic as gold bonds and taking up the analysis, pros and cons, and saying whether this is good, bad, ugly for India. So kudos to you and hats off to the team. Please, a round of good applause for all the kids who not only performed here but also displayed their project work to me. I sincerely request all of you to have a look at it. If your colleagues have yet not had a look at it, please do tell your fellow friends, not only the BCom grads, but also the MBA to go through it. It's a very beautiful presentation, and it should be made, I think, in your auditorium together. So that was really amazing. That comes from my bottom of my heart. I'm not superficially saying it. It's amazing. Money and blood should be in circulation is what he said as the first thing in the morning, and that is the typical mantra of any treasurer. Money comes and grows. Money comes and goes, but morals grow. True. That is what is ethics. Now, how do you culminate the two of them for your steady future as well as business's steadiness is what we need to understand. And that is why I said what you study, I already see is 100% there, what is required for business. All you need to do is ensure that you apply them and not get guided or drifted by the influence of others who may seemingly sound right because they come in masses. But what holds your ground is your basic understandings. Go back and ask questions whether the basics is right or wrong. So I was about to ask you, what do you think is the role of a future CFO? All my colleagues, my previous colleagues have stolen away my entire speech, be it examples, be it questions. So there could be a repeat, but let me tell you, examples could be repeat, but what you decipher out of it will be different situation to situation. Maybe somebody explained it from a risk and responsibility perspective. What risk? What was it? What was the risk that they saw? There is some different angle to it which I may present. So if you have questions, please do note it down and ask me. And I have also noted down some of the questions that were asked here, which I will try to address once my discussion is through. And in case you want to improve on your questions when I answer, please do feel free to do so. So if I may ask, what do you mean by ethics? Do you understand, or do you have an answer of what is the meaning of ethics? Ethics in business? Doing the right business in the right way? It could be even doing the wrong business in the right way, but we are not speaking of wrong business here. So ethics is doing it in the right way. All my predecessors spoke of macros, the big picture. Let me speak of a micro element when it comes to debt raising. And I think my predecessor covered it in bits and pieces, which I can try and elaborate. When it comes to debt raising, you may think that debt raising is simply an act of borrowing. Do you believe so? Do you think the treasurer's role is just to raise debt? Is there anything else that you can think of when it comes to debt raising? The answers were there in the morning session. I'm just trying to wake you up, shake you up to ask if you have understood. All right. So it's not just about knowing what to raise, it's not just about knowing how to raise, or not just knowing what are the terms and conditions in which you should be raising. It's your own business as well, which you should be understanding and be prepared for external factors. When I say internal, it means forecasting, understanding your strategy, and when it comes to external, it means the influence or the risk of unknown that can impact. So treasury is not just about borrowing, ensuring cash flows, but management of risk. It's more seen as a cost center where you try and avoid risk, and that's called risk management. We don't look at maximizing profitability, but we look at minimizing the risk. That's the primary goal of a treasury which is into borrowing. Of course, you may ask, what is the investment treasurer's role? Investment treasurer's role is, of course, to increase the yield. Having said that, they also work in the same risk environment as debt. They do not look at a steep profitability of 25% and without a consistency. What they look at is a consistent return of 10 to 13%, but over a decade or 2 decades, which means you have checks and balances in place. Now, let me tell you, what does this mean? I come from an NBFC background, non-banking financial services. Raw material is money for us. So when raw material is there, you have to be extremely thrifty about it. So when I say thrifty, what do? You have learned concepts of just in time. Maybe you understand it from a manufacturing perspective. But when I apply that in a financial sector, it means when I need money, is that money available to me? That's just in time. Why should I need money just in time and not before or after? All of you may have a question. Money is money. I can postpone advance. Opportunity is lost, which is what you would look at, and hence you may need just-in-time money. Now, when I take money in advance, we are holding on a lot of money that's called your surplus, which is sitting idle. Otherwise, this idle cash would have given you returns. Now, let's say I have done my, I'm slightly thrifty. I understand that I've got idle cash, I have made an investment, I understand that I don't need this money for say another 1 year, but I already borrowed it. So I said, okay, let me put an FD. How does it matter? I'm anyway getting some interest. Only the differential spread, borrowing cost minus my FD is what I'm losing. Possible? That sounds right, logical. Do you still believe that there is a loss here? There is. Now, we are sitting in a situation where RBI is looking at reducing the rate of interest. So if you've borrowed in advance and placed an FD for say 1 year's time, maybe you're earning an interest of 6%. Maybe had you done this 3 months later, you might have earned about 5.75% interest possible. But look at a scenario which we could be potentially staring at if this geopolitical tension increases to such a ramified effect that inflation goes up and RBI looks at increasing rate of interest. Then what is happening to you? You have borrowed at say 8%. You've invested at 6%. You've already incurred a loss of 2%, which was unnecessary. Now to top it up, you have RBI who has increased the rates. You somehow feel that from 6% you could have earned 6.25%. But you've not been able to do justice to it because you've already invested that money then. It's earning you less, which means it's an opportunity loss for you. And this is not just an opportunity from a cash flow perspective, this is called interest rate risk that you end up meeting. So when I say liquidity risk, that's the first thing when people think of when we say debt management. Yes, it is important. If you manage liquidity risk, good. If you have a liquidity issue, it's like a heart attack. Immediately the business collapses, especially businesses where raw material is money. But look at the other risks that can potentially erode your profitability. Something like your interest rate risk. So another example that I want to give. We all take home loans. We all take car loans. And these days, all rate of loans are at floating rate interest. Which means if RBI increases rate of interest, banks will pass it on to us happily. Right? Now, when assuming I'm the company who's lending you loan. Now, company doesn't generally use a floating rate of interest. Banks do that. Companies very, very frequently don't do that unless and until it's a 10-year, 20-year loan. Let's say you're buying a car. Car is financed for 4 to 6 years. Generally, the car loans are for fixed rate of interest. As a customer, I would like to know, I'm a risk savvy person. I don't want floating rate. And I know little of treasury. I believe that the interest rates can go up because of this expected geopolitical tension. So I say, I need only fixed rate, and that is what is generally available in the market. Company happily gives you. Now, what should the company do? It has to go back and ensure that as and when your money is coming in, they are able to repay their debt. Why should they now ensure that as and when they receive money from you, repay the debt? Otherwise, it will lead into liquidity crisis, right? So they have done that bit. But what they have done is, they believe today's interest rate is very, very high, so they have taken a floating rate of interest. What is floating rate of interest? Today the interest rate is say 8%. RBI reduces the rate will come down. RBI increases the rate, it will go up. But on the contrary, your income is fixed. You have lent it at say 9%. The company has lent it at fixed 9%. You would have borrowed at 6% fixed. But now since the rate of interest is going up and down, you are somewhere between 575 to maybe even 7%, 8%. If you're in 575, very good. But if you're in 8%, your profitability has gone down. And what is that? It is going to erode into your capital slowly. Why would it erode into a capital? Now, still we are making profits in this case. So we said 9% is what we are lending at, 8% is what we are borrowing at, you are still making 1% profit. Assuming interest rate goes skyrocketing, and which is not something very theoretical. 2013, we had currency crisis. We were fragile currency, one of the major fragile currencies, and overnight, our overnight borrowing rate went up by 200 basis points, which means 2%, which is possible now. You now can relate that this is not an isolated situation. So if I were to say, I'm already borrowing at 8% because of the floating rate situation, lent at 9%, and today when I repay, I can borrow only at plus 2%, which means I'm staring at a 10% borrowing. Whereas my income is at 9%, so 1% is already eroded. Where is this going from? Your capital. So will it impact you today? No. Profit, loss, everything goes into equity, so we are like, chalta hai, no. You should look at it from a long-term perspective. Today you are eroding it at a shorter period. But over the longer tenor, how are you looking at? If it's a one-time effect, you will still say it's a liquidity crisis, I had to do it. But if you continue to do this, it's going to eat away your profitability. And this is your interest rate, which eats away your profitability like cancer. So interest rate risk is like cancer, which is a slow poison to use. Over years, it will deplete. Nobody can find out. Unless and until your risk management skills tell you that I am into financial services. I not only look into liquidity, but also into interest rate risk management. Now, is this the only is this the only two risk that we have? No, somebody else spoke of market risk. What is market risk? I have an import-export business. I have a foreign currency borrowing. Today I borrowed foreign currency when it was USD INR was say 80, 82 rupees. Today I'm staring at a 93, 94 rupees, and if I have to repay today, there is a big gap between what I borrowed and what I have to repay today. Although the rate of interest could be 3%, I still have a big mismatch in terms of foreign currency. That's your market risk. Market risks are a risk that can be foreseen. There are tools in the market with which you can hedge it. So there are forwards. If you have taken a floating rate foreign currency, then you have interest rate plus you have foreign currency. These are slightly complex products, but you have still derivative products which you can hedge. What do? You pay a premium to hedge the risk. When you pay a premium, it's not a cheap source of borrowing, but what you do is you hedge your borrowing. You say, I cap it, this is my overall cost. You sleep at peace. the world may go from 75 to 95 or even 100 on a USD INR, you're not bothered. While you could be still feeling restless if USD goes to 75 rupees per dollar, INR goes to 75 rupees per dollar, but you're still sleeping peacefully if it goes to 100 rupees. Touch wood, I hope it doesn't come, but we are staring at that situation, unfortunately. So it's about doing the business, understanding the risk, and putting in place the right caps as solution. Again, is this the only risk that we see? So I spoke of ALM risk, which is your liquidity risk. We spoke of interest rate risk. We spoke of market risk. Now, all these examples were given in the morning, so I'm not quoting them again. Island FS, superb, unfortunate, infamous case for ALM mismatch, credit, inappropriate credit assessments, or inappropriate governance, where we speak of ethics. Governance were not in place. So in fact, in ILFS cases, we understand that there were few people like-minded like you who did mention to the board that, hey, look, there is something wrong. You need to figure out ALM is not appropriate. You've been funding short-term, you've been using short-term funds for long-term projects. Island FS was a infrastructure company, infrastructure financing company, where they said short-term debts are being used for long-term assets. Nobody gave an ear. And there came the collapse with multiple factors, with a very complex structure of debt where they were highly leveraged. Result, collapse. Not collapse of one company. It was a collapse of entire NBFC. The investors were completely taken away. There was zero debt capital market interest during those times. Even bankers had an aversion towards NBFC. This AAA company, which is the highest rated company in India, took away the entire financial sector's profitability in just one act of theirs. For the next 2 to 3 years, unfortunately, financial sector did not raise money at a reasonable cost. Business came down drastically for them. The cost went up drastically. So the impact of one unethical behavior of one big company led to a downfall of a big sector in India. Without that big sector, it becomes very difficult to operate, where banks have a lot of restrictions to work on. Now, again, to speak of how do you draw a thin line difference between what is ethical and what is business practice, I would ask you. Whatever practice makes you earn profits at an expeditious way without considering the stakeholders' well-being is unethical. You agree with me? There were a lot of bonsai cases that we are aware of who assured a return of 25%, 40%, squandered the money and ran away. But these are all basic frauds that I would not even speak of. We have this other case which doesn't seemingly look to be a case of unethical practice, but you will understand that risks are there much beyond ethical practices, but they come from something called a framework of compliance, framework of governance. So when you say framework of compliance and governance, these are words which you use to discipline yourself. If there is a cane behind you which says that follow it to the T, then it is ethics. If you do not follow them, then it is again unethical. Would you agree with me? Now, there was yet another case which happened very, very recently. So why we give you these live examples is because what you study is what you would apply in your real life. During COVID, the interest rates were much below what they used to be. Some of the governments made it even zero. So when they, in fact, let me pull up interest rate of US, which had brought it down to zero levels. Since the Fed was lending at, Fed's overnight rate was 0%, they still had to borrow the money. So they said their interest rates of borrowing the money, because they were doling out freebies to the people for the well-being of the people. People didn't have work during COVID, but still they had to live. To manage that situation, US gave money to them in their pockets. They said, take $2,000 each of you, take, they gave. Okay, to answer one of your questions, which was very beautifully asked in the forum, you said fiscal deficit. So this is one of the reasons where they said, take money. They put money into everybody's pocket without even asking them whether they need the money or not, because the jobs are not possible. Where will government get money from? They had to raise it from their internal sources. When they raised the money, they had to raise it at a certain level of interest. Now, if government was fixing the interest rate to be 0%, they still had to borrow the money. So when they borrowed the money, they had interest rates which are still reasonable. Now, let's say the interest rate was say 2% at that point in time on the bonds that government of or the Fed had raised. Now, there was this Silicon Bank which had got good amount of deposit, but during COVID, the deposit doubled within a matter of 1 year's time. Now, not just Silicon Bank, most of the banks were flushed with a lot of liquidity during COVID, if I may remind you, because businesses were not on, banks were not able to lend, so they had a lot of money. So what were they doing? They had to lend, they had to reinvest that money to make some money. So what these guys did was, this bank invested in the most safest asset, which is US sovereign bonds. It was earning low rate of interest, but still it was at least earning them some interest instead of nothing to be earned. So good practice, they didn't leave the cash idle, right? All the thumb rules checked in here. Now the twist comes here. They invested in hold to maturity. Is hold to maturity a liquid bond for you? No. 2, the money that they have received as deposits was predominantly from one particular sector, which is IT sector. Does it matter to us? Maybe, maybe not. But when the crisis comes, it tells you. So in 2020, 2021, COVID was still on. There was a lot of money flushed in. Banks had capital. 2022, interest rates started going up. Fed started increasing interest rates. Inflation went up. To top it up, we had Russia-Ukraine war, which was adding to the fuel, and interest rates were going skyrocketing. India also witnessed that. Now what happens? During this phase, there was a tech center, technology industry, which needed money. So they started withdrawing cash. But when this interest rates went up, banks started booking something called mark-to-market losses. Treasury jargon, they booked something called mark-to-market losses. What is mark-to-market losses? If I were to sell that instrument today, what is the return that I will get is the assessment that they make. And the differential will be booked into your profit and loss immediately. So a low yielding asset will barely earn you any interest, so it would have to be sold at a loss. So they were booking a lot of mark-to-market losses in their P&L. But since the tech companies wanted money, one of them tried to pull the money. To serve that client and to avoid liquidity issue, bank also said, let me sell the treasury bonds, most safest bonds. We will make a little losses, but we will avoid liquidity crunch. Sold, losses made, and then money was given. But slowly all the tech companies started requiring cash at that moment, and everybody came to that bank, and this bank was predominantly funded by tech companies. Now does it ring a bell to you? What is it?
And as a result, the banks are lending more and they're booking more losses.
Right. So in this case, they are withdrawing their deposits. So when they withdraw the deposits, customers are withdrawing deposits. Bank has invested into bonds of the US Fed. So when they sell, they will have to sell at a loss. So now they are selling at a loss. 90% of their deposits were in US bonds and they were sold at a loss, right? And the bank would have collapsed. What is this called? Counterparty risk. You can have counterparty risk not just from a lending perspective, but also from a investment, a borrowing perspective. And why I say this counterparty risk is important is you should never rely on one lender or one particular, no, never concentrate it into one. The same, if I were to apply to, say, a manufacturing industry will procure goods from various places, sell to various distributors. Assuming it had many procurement vendors, but only one distribution, do you see a risk? If that distribution agent closes, your shops are shut. That's your concentration. Same thing has happened in the banks, and hence concentration risk, which is much undermined in the financial industry, is as important to you as liquidity risk. Now, as these risks keep emanating, what is it which is happening? The regulators are imposing more and more regulations on you. What happens next? Your brain starts flashing as to what do you do next, because there are more and more regulations. How do you circumvent the regulations is what a crooked mind would think. When there is a mind to think of circumventing the regulation, there are more regulations to come in. This is where your values and ethics play a role. So when you do a clean business, which is what you're learning today on the slate, please understand that these are not just bookish terminologies, but to be followed till the last day of your working. Come what may, that's what you're supposed to be following, and keep questioning on the fundamentals. The next question that I have in front of me was, we have these AIs these days to predict what can be done. And I also had a chat with one of your colleagues who was making a presentation, our AI is taking away the job, and in fact they had a beautiful answer even before I could answer. They said that we will have AI based audit. Perfect. I think that's what happened to us when we were on pen and paper mode for booking our accounting. I think accountant's job was much easier. The frauds then were probably forgery, misappropriation of cash, theft. But these days, this is not what happens. You have something very different. You have ALM, you have interest rate, you have so on and so forth, many others which you can't even find out. So the risk of unethical practice is very diverse these days with the increase in technology. So with that, we will have much more jobs which are created, but your creativity level needs to increase. You no more need to identify whether your trial balance is matching or not, whether your balance sheet is matching or not, because an ERP is already giving you a matched trial balance. It can also throw you financial results, your balance sheet P&L. All you need to do is analyze. Now even that analysis is not required. Your chat GPT will tell you, you give the industry, you give the inputs and say whether this is good, bad, ugly. That will also come through, right? Now where comes your expertise? Your expertise is in identifying the risk. Now you have forensic audits, you have IT systems audit. Nobody is looking at your audit with pen and paper. I mentioned they are coming with two set of people, IT experts who audit your IT system, whether the segregation of duties and responsibilities are in place, whether the rights that have been given in the system are not clashing with others. Do you find a role for yourself there as Future Finance? What is your role? Your role is to design these controls. Again, does it ring a bell? It has to. When you wear your auditor's hat, when you understand what is it, you would look at what are the kind of controls that you should design to ensure that people cannot circumvent, people cannot do a theft, people cannot exceed their authority, and whether a person who can authorize can also input. Whether can I just go to the bank website and say, pay Kritika 10 lakh rupees. Is it possible today? No. There will be one person who will input it into the bank system, one person who will check it, two people to authorize. Is it killed now? You believe it's killed? I think he's there, but I think I need the answers there. Maybe not is the right answer. What happens? You could have people coming in, going out. The risk lies when you keep your eyes closed on people who leave the organization. Maybe there are a few set of people who have left the organization over time. You have not reviewed the kind of accesses that they have. And we are speaking of an external banking environment, online banking, where he may have there could be a cluster of people, somebody having inputter rights and few of them having review rights, authorization rights, and this doesn't happen overnight. This happens over a period of time, and with people having malified intentions can go and make a payment, which means you should not just set your systems but also keep reviewing it frequently. Now we spoke of few of the risks like market risk or ALM risk. Now there are rules and regulations which can give you the basic guidelines, the minimum guidelines. Now you want to set it slightly differently, and you have a big debate with your management as a head treasurer or as a CFO. You are able to convince your management that this is the right approach, because nobody other than you knows what is the subject. So they will agree. They may question, debate, but they will agree. Now you draft it as a policy and roll it out and say, this is what I'm going to follow on investments or on, say, borrowings or on derivative. The very fact that I'm going to take a derivative has to be informed to the board, and board will say yes to it. Now, why do you take a policy to the board? The board has much more qualified people or experienced people who will think from a wider perspective and tell you whether the policy that you have drafted is right, wrong, or are there any changes to be made. Now, why is this important? You as an individual will restrict yourself to a certain situation. With your experience, you would have drafted that policy and you would say that's the best for your organization. Whereas the board member who is sitting there across has much more wider experience. He looks at the gamut and says, hey, you've not looked at it from the other angle. You're saying you're going to be using derivative products. Do you know what are the risks associated? Is there a product expertise? In case you want to break the derivative, would you know the cost around it? You need to answer. You need to know whether you have accounting expertise, whether you've looked at the flip side of it. It's going to affect your capital in case there is a loss on mark to market. Have you looked at all these aspects? And have you covered it? If these are answered, then your policy has been laid out right. You mitigate your individual risk and put it to the collective forum of the board. And when it is a collective forum which is taking the risk, it is always ethical. You do not expect the collective forum to be making the same mistake as one or two individuals sitting in the management. When it comes to speaking of ethical business, when you're doing borrowing, when your raw material is money, you have to borrow from the market outside. Who are your markets outside? It's probably the banks who are lending you, which is the easiest form. Then you have mutual funds who lend you through the debt capital market, mutual funds, insurance, or some large companies who have money to invest. So banks do a complete risk assessment on you. They do a credit analysis and then they lend you a loan. They have much more detailed information when they lend you a loan. Debt capital market works in a very different way. They will look at your past. They don't ask you your future plans. They look at your past and they try and probe your future strategy. Now here is the catch again. You need to be truthful there. You cannot hide the past. You cannot say what went wrong erroneously or what went wrong in a very sugar-coated way. You have to break the truth as a fact. You don't have to be emotional about it. There is a difference between bringing out the fact and bringing it out very emotionally. When you say emotional, you add a lot of noise around it. You start explaining why, when, what, how. No, that's not what is expected. You just say, this happened, there was a bad debt. Why that bad debt occurred? It was in this particular sector, there was COVID, or this particular segment of the loan that you had given, the industry was affected, maybe the agricultural crops were affected, full stop. What is your way forward strategy? You put that out to say how you're mitigating it, full stop. You've not told them a lie, you have clarified to them what went wrong, and you have clarified then your future strategy. At the same time, your strategy is not sugar coated, which means you are doing ethical business. So as a finance professional, again, even when you're raising debt, you need to understand the strategy of the company and not do a marketing of the strategy, but speak of facts, which is what our friend also said. Now, these are all ethics, values, but as a finance professional, would you know that there is also a value add that you can create in your jobs? Very much possible. How? I'm just doing borrowing. I'm being a cost to the company. How can I do value add to the organization? But there is a difference, stark difference that has come in today, and this is being recognized worldwide. There is something called ESG, which is environment, social, governance, kind of a well-being, which is being discussed worldwide. You've heard of carbon credits. What does it mean? It simply means that worldwide there is an awareness that there is an increased pollution in the environment, and how do you reduce that pollution? And every country is taking onus of how do they bring down the carbon emission. In this backdrop, when you speak of ESG has a culmination of bringing in this value of you working along with the sales side to reduce the carbon emission, at the same time raising your debt as a finance professional. How does this work? Simply saying, ESG says, give a detailed program of how do you look at reducing your carbon footprint, which is a strategy that your company has laid out. Bring in the disclosure. Very clearly say, I'm at X, I'm going to bring it down to Y. This is my strategy over the next 5 or 10 years, and this is my fundraising for it. And there are credit rating agencies which are doing this job of evaluating your historic, your future, based on this disclosure that you have made. So we spoke of environment, where it could be of, say, a carbon credit. Second, we are speaking of social. What is social? There are socially or economically deprived communities or people who do not have access to credit, or historically they have not been given credit. Now, how do you increase that, the credit availability to them? Why do you need to increase the credit? Because that leads to your capital growth. It leads to overall growth of the economy. It leads to your own growth. But a company is scared to give a socially backward community or a financially backward person loan, because they don't have a guarantee whether it will be returned or not. Now, the way you evaluate the person is not simply by his balance sheet, P&L, sales, no. That historic way of doing credit assessments will not lead you there. Instead, what you do is, you look at what is his spend now, what is he working on, what is he selling, what kind of credit can he get, what is his future projected growth with this, can he achieve it, and try and give. If you do that, will the economy as is grow? Yes. So these are the kind of modern credit analysis that you would do, and you could add value to it by ensuring that you as a lending company can lend to those socially backward or financially backward people to receive that loan. The third factor is on governance. What is governance? It's about bringing in transparency about what are the rules and regulations that you have, who are the people who are looking at, has the board discussed, bring them all. If you have a good governance, put it up in your financials to say, what is it that the board is discussing? Why do you believe the governance is good? And let that speak for itself. Let the policy speak for it, and bring all these disclosures. So with this ESG kind of a program, you can raise funds as a financial professional at, say, a slightly lower cost than what others could have raised. So value add, we spoke of value add. Now, another way of value add in this treasury environment, there was this Tirupur dyeing industry which does cloth dyeing heavily, and it's a big industrial base there, and they supply for a lot of big brands. They had to shut shops because the pollution that they were emitting from that water of dyeing was way too high that the court asked them to shut the shops. You know, the company did one smart thing. They invested over the next 6 months in something that nobody could have believed. They did something which they cleaned up their process. They ensured that the pollutants are removed, and they started recycling the same water from their own industry. With this, what happened is they not only got a good sales, but they were also being able to raise good amount of credit with this, because they were able to publish that they are doing something which is good for the community. So these are the value adds that you can look at your organization, raise green bonds, raise ESG kind of bonds, and as wearing your controller's hat, have some of the governance mentioned transparently in your financials. Now, as I mentioned to you, the discussions that happened here were brilliant. Let me, please allow me to answer a few of your questions that you have. What are the evolving risks? I think I answered that there is, whenever you see that business is not doing for the well-being of the stakeholder, there is a risk. Now, risk can be from time to time different, and how you evaluate the risk is not at the time when the risk actually occurs. You foresee that. Now, let's take the example of COVID. Were the companies in India or the worldwide prepared for a pandemic and work from home? Absolutely not. Maybe the IT companies were, but not the financial sector companies or the manufacturing companies. What happened? I think the companies shut shops. Company shut shop, business didn't work, that is different. But what about your financial commitments? Can you, there was a moratorium of 5 months, which means after 5 months you still had to pay. So what is it that you do? Under such circumstances, you plan something called your risk mitigation plan. You don't plan it today, you plan it well in advance. So when you do your cash flow analysis, you find out what are the possible risk that could be there, identify them, create scenario analysis. Rings a bell? Create scenario analysis, present it to say, where are you? Now, where are you will give you a reality check. Maybe this doesn't allow you to make the repayments. Maybe you don't have the lenders to give you money. But it allows you time from then till the risk strikes you to ensure you can build up on your resources. Then, which risk is more important? There is no risk which is less important than the other. It's the time which tells you what is important. So you list down your risk in a very, and there is a risk assessment schedule that you prepare in every company. It's called risk assessment containment, where they list down all the risk and do a stress testing to identify what needs to be done under various circumstances, have the answers ready. So somebody said they have a cheat sheet in their pocket when they have to respond. This is exactly that SOP in terms of crisis, to identify which risk is more important at that particular point in time. How to counter the risk, how to predict the cash flows. Cash flows are very evolving. Allow me another 2-3 minutes if that is okay. This is just to answer the questions. How to predict the cash flows? Cash flows are always evolving. You predict your cash flows at a certain point in time, and you keep revising it again and again, because your strategies are changing, your customer needs are changing, and when the customer needs and preferences change, the cash flows also change. Yesterday somebody wanted A segment, B segment car. Today somebody wants C segment, D segment car. Somebody wants a premium segment car. So the needs have changed. Yesterday people wanted ICE engines, today people want electric cars. But tomorrow we don't know whether the electric cars will be used because the infrastructure is still not available. We had this Ola Uber awesome case where people were moving away from buying their own cars to pooling their cars. Come COVID, gone. I think the whole system changed. People did not want to pool the cars. So it keeps evolving, and you need to keep looking at it every now and then. So they say when you do a cash flow planning, do a daily cash flow planning, do a monthly cash flow planning, do a 3 months, 6 months, 1 year cash flow planning for your borrowings and investments, and also do a medium term 3 to 5 year planning. Financial strategies, I think I would be at a loss to say if I were to add it something. I think you guys summarized it best. Hedging instruments, the kind of hedging instruments that you had. I would only add on to this by saying, know the product in detail when you undertake any complex instrument. That's the only risk mitigation when it comes to hedging financial risk. Thank you so much for your time. I think I have a lovely gathering here. I hope you enjoyed and took insightful sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kritika Giridhari. Who knew managing cash and debt could actually sound this interesting from an ethical and sustainable lens? Ma'am, you beautifully explained concepts such as risk management, different types of risks, and how factors such as inflation rate, interest rate, and forex rates are affecting them, and also how one can accordingly take necessary steps in identifying different types of risks, measuring them, managing them, and mitigating those risks. Ma'am, your explanation came alive with scenario-based examples and real-life cases. On behalf of our institution, please accept a token of our heartfelt appreciation. I now request Dr. Sai Manohar to present the token of gratitude to Ms. Kritika Giridhari on our behalf. And now, we move into the highlight of today's program, the FinSpark Fireside Chat. We are truly privileged today to have with us an outstanding panel, three remarkable leaders from the world of finance who bring together decades of experience, deep expertise, and an inspiring passion for the profession. Before we dive in, it is my pleasant duty to introduce each of the speakers. Our first speaker for the session is Ms. Rupa Sampath Kumar. She is a seasoned finance professional with over 20 years of progressive experience spanning over financial control, treasury, business planning, and statutory audits across some of India's most respected financial service institutions. Her career began with PwC, where she earned an outstanding rating for managing statutory audits for marquee clients including Caterpillar India, Wyeth Pharmaceuticals, and Reliance Life Insurance. She then took her expertise to ICICI Bank, managing large corporate relationships with banking limits of up to USD 120 million. Her international stint at Brookvina LLC in Chicago gave her deep grounding in US GAAP, making her the firm's first staff member on its technical review committee. She subsequently held CFO roles at Hinduja Housing Finance and Five Star Business Finance, and currently serves as the Chief Financial Officer of TVS Credit Services Limited, a chartered accountant, certified public accountant, and an All India rank holder in CA Inter. Her academic brilliance is matched only by her professional impact. Next, we have our second speaker, who is Ms. Meena Srinath. She is a financial leader of extraordinary academic depth and professional versatility. Meena Srinath is a chartered accountant, certified public accountant, and an MBA graduate from the Indian School of Business, and that is just the beginning of her impressive credentials. With over 20 years of experience in global finance, she currently heads global finance at Coro Health, having grown from vice president to senior vice president over nearly a decade. She also holds a master's in labor laws, a master's in finance, and a diploma in HR, and has personally steered 3 major merger deals and their due diligence, reflecting her strength in high-stakes strategic environments. Coming up next, we have our moderator for the FinSpark Fireside Chat session. Guiding today's conversation is someone who sits at the fascinating intersection of finance, data science, and academic leadership. Dr. Subramanian Iyer is an associate professor and deputy controller of examination at the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, where he has been shaping minds for nearly 19 years. He holds a PhD in computational finance, completed a postdoctoral fellowship at the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and is a certified financial risk manager, a gold medalist in both BCom and MBA, and an All India rank holder in CA Inter. His research spans across concepts such as machine learning in stock prediction, value at risk modeling, and portfolio optimization using copulas. As our moderator today, Dr. Iyer will bring his characteristic intellectual curiosity and cross-disciplinary perspective to draw out the richest insights from our distinguished panel. Please join me in welcoming our panel to the FinSpark Fireside Chat session.
Sairam, and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this FinSpark Fireside Chat. Even though we're calling it a fireside chat, which is of course an expression borrowed from a different context and a different geography, at this minute I'm inclined to say thankfully we are away from the fire. The fire is outside. So the way we conceived of this session was we invited questions from the students. We left it open to the BComs and the MBAs, and we received quite a few interesting questions. And clearly, judging by the first session in the afternoon, there isn't any dearth of curiosity or competence amidst the students. So we thought we'll try and keep the tone of this session candid, no bullet points checklist, no PPT, but straight from the heart. So what we did was we sort of curated the questions and put them around, organized them around a few themes, about 4 or 5 themes. So what I'll do is, to the extent possible, I'll try and give you the question without too much of interpretation from my side or any other side, and then I'll have you all respond. And even though I'm sort of anchoring this session, I would like the questions to be kept open even from the student side, right? So with that understanding, we'll begin. Meena, you have sat on this side nearly 2.5 decades ago.
In fact, this was my classroom.
Oh, really? That's.
And that was my place.
Oh, wonderful. And Rupa, you may have been in some other classroom, even if it was not this location. So I want you to rewind to that time and just walk us through your journey into the corporate world.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Swami, for the opportunity. It's never easy from there till here. It's been one of the toughest, the hardest journey, I would say. Am I audible? Yeah. Okay. It's one of the most toughest, but I think with Swami's grace, the journey has been continuous, because the learning with all the ups and downs has been always continuous. So from passing out, education post your undergrads, professionally qualifying yourself will give you a step ahead when you compete with others. So what happens, what would take for an experienced 10 years, you'll probably cut it short by 5 years, but nothing would replace an experienced person. So you gain that experience over the years, but professional qualification will slightly give you a cutting edge over others. So this kind of professional qualifications like CA or CPA would expedite that. So that what helped me. But one thing, you please stick with the company and you grow with the company. You cannot be jumping around. So it is also highlighted, I think, Sir has also mentioned, that you have to stick to basics. We cannot work in a very fancy environment. So I think you stick to basics, you equip yourself, upskill, work as a team. I think that is what has, this journey was very, very tough, very fruitful.
So I wanted you to be, anecdotal about it. So you finished your BCom honors from here, and then so you started your CA immediately after that, or like what was it like?
It would take me all narrating my personal experience though, but I applied in hospital. Swami did not select me in the hospital. And then that's how CA was the only gate where the gates were wide open. You can enter at any time. Exit is the problem. Entry is
well
free
said.
So entry you can, it would give you a warm welcome in fact. And so that's how I entered CA. And after that I understood that it wasn't very easy for me. So I had to educate myself, because this is uncertainty around with CA. I mean, you have a rank holder next to me. But having said that, it wasn't that easy for me. So to equip ourselves, I had to finish other 2-3 qualifications, and by then I think I sailed through this. And US CPA is something, I did this after 2 decades after passing out. Recently I completed, but it helped to being a student, lifelong student, being curious is something which is inevitable. So that is the reason for why I'm educating myself over the years.
Rupa, how about you? How was your journey like?
Yeah, thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah.
A lovely good evening, or good afternoon I should say, to everybody gathered here. It's been phenomenal, going through the entire day. Actually, I came in a little late. I missed the first half, but nevertheless I caught up with Shastri's session and then Kritika's session as well, and we also had a session in between, the lunch discussions, and I caught up with Meena as well. So my journey has been slightly different, since I'm addressing a group of women who are very energetic, who carry a lot of dreams in their shoulders. So I just want to look back in my journey. It's been like 23 years since I passed out of CA. So being a lady from, I'm born, brought up from Chennai. So I'm a city girl, I should say. But the world was very different because you are brought up in a very different environment at home. School was all girls school. So stepping up into the corporate world, one thing was very clear. You have to equip yourself for a long career ahead. So one thing my CA, I chose CA is not the word I should say. CA chose me because my dad was a chartered accountant, and then my mom was very particular. She was a homemaker. She was very particular that her daughter has to work. So she figured out with her own sources that working in the corporate floor, I was loving physics and maths, so I wanted to take science, but my mother was hell-bent on saying that you can't work on the shop floor and you have to, she somehow felt that I'm going to get married and live in North India. So she made me learn Hindi. I've written all the exams like a good student. I was equipping myself in a very different environment. So my view of corporate world was only through my dad. So I was very clear that I had to do CA. So there was no choice. So everybody was asking me, why are you taking commerce? You are a science student. You're meant to do engineering and all that. But I quietly took CA. But I wanted to prove something different. So I said, okay, let me skip college. Let me do foundation. So by 19, I arrived in Pricewaterhouse completely naive. We didn't even have cell phones those days, and I had to go on audits. So it was a completely different world, and the men folks that we interacted with were all like 35, 40-year-old men, very serious and very career focused. So being a girl who's just right out of college, I figured out that the only way to crack through this is to work very hard, focus on technical skills. So worked very hard on building those two, communication, because if you start your career with Pricewaterhouse, the communication becomes the key. Every manager review, every partner review will be so excruciating. You will prepare 10 to 20 sheets of paper. I was just thinking about the cheat sheets. If the partner asks this question, what should you do? So you have to handle a corporate client, you have to handle the partner review, and you have to manage a team. So by 21, 22, we understood how to work as a team, collaborate. I never worked in hostel, but working in Big Fours gave the atmosphere because you have to work with very different teams in every engagement. It's not the same team you will work with because you're put in different engagements and the entire team members will be different. You have to collaborate with a lot of people. So I learned collaboration, communication, and of course ethics, because when you start your career with audit, you'll always go through everything through that lens, and control, risk management, everything we pick up through experiences. One thing was very clear, that I wanted to just not restrict myself to statutory audit. So the next thing that came up was treasury. So I wanted to learn treasury, so joined a bank. Couple of things I had to move very cautiously because I didn't want to work in any other city. So I told my mom and dad, I don't want to go to the US. You find a boy only in India. This is 20 years back, guys. So most of us had arranged marriages. So fortunate or unfortunate, only time will tell. But we have managed 20 years with the same person. So either side, it's a win-win. So point is, so I was very particular about location. So some people say you have to be in Bombay or Delhi to grow. I wouldn't say that. You can figure out in any city you're in. You just have to have the mindset to see what you want and love what you get. So you can learn in every aspect of the game. So my point was, I managed to be in Chennai right 20 years, except for the 3 years that my husband took me to the US. So I had to leave my job here, go to the US. And when I landed there, I was thinking, right, the same rank holder mentality, landed there. Okay, everybody knows ICICI there. I mean, ICICI is the largest bank in the country, private bank in the country. So why would I not get a job? So landed just before Lehman crisis, and I was just applying every bank, Harrison Bank, all the banks. You can, half of them are not there now, but I was in Chicago. Half the banks were like, okay, I cautiously figured out, okay, carefully curated. I was just thinking how beautifully we try to plan life. So I had Schweizer's CFA, I had CPA option, or if nothing works, I will get an MBA in some college and work there. So I told my husband, don't disturb me, give me a card loaded with $1,000. Don't ask me, I didn't know cooking as well. So I have to literally open a book and start cooking as well. So I told, just don't ask me anything, I will return your money back. Just give me $1,000 loaded, I will figure out what I want to do. So I went ahead, how to, apply for jobs, did the research, then I did the math. Okay, if I do in 3 months CPA, okay, I will be able to land a job immediately. So all those things, maths, beautifully calculated, carefully curated Excel spreadsheets, calling everybody those days, applying in websites, I landed in a job. After I would say 2-3 months of struggle, but I enjoyed the journey. So what I'm saying is, and then I did not know the accent there, so I had to figure out how to understand, because I was too fast. And I had a heavy Indian accent which people did not understand. So I started seeing sitcoms. That time Barack Obama was like a hero for all of us, because he was just starting his Springfield speech saying, I am contesting for the President of the United States. So I was like, oh my man, this is the guy. So I will follow him. So diligently went through weather, CNN and everything. So the point is, I adapted myself. I pushed myself out of comfort zones, and I wanted to make the best use of what I got. So that's the lesson I wanted to end with, and then finally I landed up here, and here I am in front of you guys.
That was a wonderful, candid, out of the stadium hit, Rupa. So I hope learning the American accent was easier than learning Hindi.
But Hindi did help. It breaks the ice. I'm sure a lot of people here know Hindi. Coming from a Chennai background, people are thought that Chennai is Madras. The entire 4 states are Madras for North Indians. And everybody should understand Hindi. So beautifully, all Tamil people actually understand Hindi. The only problem is the communication back.
Wonderful. Before I get to the question on, I wanted to pick a thread from what the two of you said, and that's on, certifications, professional competence. But before I pick that thread, there was this other related thought in my mind that I thought I'll delve a little upon, which is that, I'm talking of like back 2.5 decades ago, finance was often perceived as a male-dominated field, and I think to a large extent it is even today. I'm not sure to what extent you agree on that. So what's your feeling about that? What is it? How was it back then? How is it today? Do you see a change in the whole gender dynamics as far as the roles in finance or the industry as such is concerned? Do you see a breaking of stereotypes in one way or the other?
There was not much, yes, the female representation was very less then, even now. It's only because of the career breaks that women they have. So I think how you can help is, every working woman has to give a helping hand to the other. Otherwise, there will be a career break. So it's up to another woman to, kind of give a helping hand to have the continuity of service. Only that will actually break, and I'm sure it will take years for us to build that. So it will not happen in one day. It's slowly happening. It should have happened much faster, but we are still getting there. But so back then and now, I don't see much of a change at the senior leadership level. Only because by the time we get there, there is always a break. And invariably, woman has to balance the family. Not everybody gets be blessed like us. So I think the part of male is very, very crucial in building a female's career, woman's career.
Wonderful. Your thoughts?
Yeah,
Rupa?
yeah. I also echo.
Apart from the $1,000 and
Yeah. No, I did return back multiple times. So multiple X, I would say. The point I was trying to make is, Meena was right. When I look back, those days also, there were few industries where women were rising to the top. Like for example, in consulting firms, there was specific policies to promote diversity as a proportion. So if you still look at all the big fours or even the large consulting companies, you see a lot of partners who are women. And was it difficult? Yes, it was very, very difficult for, to get to the top slot. Even to get to the middle slot and then continue through the top slot, it's very, very challenging. So the point is, I just go back to two, 3 points, right? You choose, I mean, it depends upon what you want to do. Are women not shining today? Yes, they are shining today. People choose what success is defined, right? You define your success. Okay, it needn't be in corporate career. If somebody wants to be a solopreneur and, you know, make money, yes, they are going to do it. They are doing it. You can see so many people doing it. Or you want to set up a small firm, you know, or a business on your own and then, you know, become successful in it, you can do that. But if you want to be in corporate and rise through the ranks, then the ball game is very, very different. So you'll have to pick and choose the industry, pick and choose the values of that organization, and does it give importance to women? Are there opportunities for women to grow? Because for the women to rise from the junior position to the senior position, not only her body, her mind, physically, mentally, she goes through a metamorphosis, right? It's like, you know, like a butterfly, right? So every phase is very, very different. So there is a saying which says that it takes a village to raise a child. I would slightly flip it to say it takes a village to put a lady on the top slot. The village need not be only her husband. If you stay single, it should be your mom, dad, some family, or your sister, or your caregivers, or your housemates. So it takes a village to put a lady on the top slot. It's not just her perseverance and her choice of life, it's also the infrastructure that she is surrounded with. I am sure some people are lucky to have family members. Like I said, I had a good partner. I have a good partner and a family to support. But that is not the only thing. You can break stereotypes. You just have to keep an open mind and have to have the perseverance to say that I want to achieve it. So the success is completely defined by that person, and it changes over the phase of a woman's career. That's what I would.
Yeah, to add just the comfort zone. Generally, we get kind of comfortable with, chalega, yeah, I've got now 1 lakh salary, I think I'm good. No, I think most of the women, they have the ceilings on desire for the wrong reasons. So I think you should aim for the top, and of course persistence would help, and it's very difficult game.
No, and there can be setbacks. It's not just, we were talking about, you know, rank holder and all. That's what I said. When I first started, I felt everything was laid out in a piece of paper. I knew my long-term plans, short-term plans, volatilities and everything. But when it came to career, I did take a career break. So I did consciously take a career break, step back, and then I rejoined the industry. But I kept myself busy in those times as well, you know, mentally. And did I have financial, downside? Yes, I did have. Did I make it up? Yes, of course. I worked way too hard to make it up. So it's a choice. So please exercise your choices. Basis what you feel is right at that point in time. The choices can differ.
I think that was wonderfully put, and I think at this time, the speakers really deserve a round of applause for making things work, and not just making things work, for really hitting it out of the stadium. On that note, I think there are also quite a few challengers right here in this hall who are out there to challenge the convention and break the stereotypes. In fact, a while ago, Anand was mentioning that back in our times, we wouldn't have the courage or whatever to put up a show the way these girls did. So again, a round of applause to them for doing that. And hopefully you will take back some of these pointers that were wonderfully brought out by our panel here. The other thread that I wanted to pick from what you said is, and this is a question that's in fact come from a lot of the BComs and the MBAs here. I think some of it you've answered, but nevertheless I'm going to say it. Is pursuing certifications like CFA, CA, ACCA still worth the time, money, and effort in today's changing finance landscape? And to sort of nuance it, for an early stage career, what is it that actually matters more? Is it certifications or skills or experience? What is it that actually matters? And if you think of it in terms of, a career capital of sorts, skills, experiences, credibility, how should the students of today make a balance between these two things? The certificate, the depth that you get on one hand from something like pursuing a very focused, razor-sharp focused certification, versus something like a breadth, which is perhaps something that you get from more broader based activities like doing an internship, you know, and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
They're already in BCom honors, which means it's a 4-year degree. I wouldn't recommend a CA. Because it's a minimum 5-year course.
So incidentally, sorry to stop you there. So incidentally, currently they are also allowed to pursue a certification alongside their degree. Am I right about that? Yeah.
Okay. ACC, okay. They get certain exemptions, I think. Understood. So a CA, I wouldn't recommend unless you are all into foundation. Because it's like become like MBBS. It's a minimum 5-year course. And by the time you're 25, the girls, they have an immense pressure of getting married and things like that. But CPA, I think it's a shortcut. So, and CFA. So you want to be an accountant or a finance guy. Do you know the difference between an accountant and finance person, isn't it? So you choose what you want to be. Accordingly, if you want to be an analyst, CFA I think has 3 levels and each 8 papers. It's easy to crack.
Some of them are pursuing it.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, so CFA, CPA, ACCA, but not CA. Not that no, it's actually a very difficult trial. And today's generation, they don't have the patience to face failures. And here, you study for 300 hours, you pass. CA, it's not like that. But probably she would differ, but that's my take. So that's about qualifications, but one thing, please put your head down and work. And that is the shortest, I would say the shortcut for all success. Put your head down and work, get all your certifications, but certifications are important to upskill yourself.
Wonderful. Your thoughts, Rupa? Yeah. I hope the audience has taken note of it. Yes.
Today, the generation are very blessed. They have multiple options. So I would say that any strong qualification would give you a head start in any role you want. You want to be in treasury, you want to be in finance, you want to be in planning, you want to be in compliance, you want to be in accounting, controllership. I would say, you know, I have done everything, so audit. So I have done everything, so I would say pick what comes to you naturally first. Pick what comes to you naturally. Like I'm an extroverted person, right? So treasury involves talking to bankers, negotiating bankers. If you're a person, no, I don't want to talk to strangers, I don't want to talk to people, maybe treasury is not the first role you want to end up with. So it depends upon what you're good at. By now, since you're already doing a structured curriculum, you can get a feeler of what you like in terms of what your interests lie, and then pick a strong professional course so that you get a head start. Right? So you don't start, if you start from BCom and then, okay, I'll get 2 years of experience and then do these courses, I would say do a professional degree. It can be anything, ACCA or a CPA or a CA. It depends upon what you want, but start with a professional degree. Professional degree is absolutely essential because it gives you a good head start in a good organization, and with competition across, from MBAs and as well as across the world, although you have more opportunities, the competition is very, very tough. And if you're very picky and choosy about a location, then I feel that the only armor you have is having a professional education, because it gives you all the right tools in terms of technical expertise to start. Then you can build on your other skills. And you can always add additional qualification. I mean, she is most educated in this room, I think, with so many degrees. I was asking her, how did you manage with a child and a professional career? So you can always add on based on what you want. If you want to go into treasury, then, or you want to go into risk, there are risk certifications as well. So you can, extend your qualification, but the first thing is professional, certification, absolutely important.
I think the way both of you said it, you underlined it so much, the page is staring now.
Yeah, that's, BCom honors is, or MBA will be a good start, but it's not the end. So sorry.
Company secretary for the girls' children.
Yeah, this again, it's a minimum 3 years course.
No, but it's a very wonderful place.
It's a very nice course, in fact.
No, it's a very
some of them are pursuing, I'm told.
No, it's a wonderful course. Please do law along with it. It's a great combination. So legal with CS, it's something need of the hour today.
In fact, just to add, since there were talks about, these children want to get into corporate finance and all that, if you want to get into due diligences or you want to get into large consulting firms, I am pretty sure that you can take company secretary and couple it with law, corporate laws. You will be able to start in a very good position. You don't have to just do law first and then do company secretary. You can have a blend of both.
Yes.
So I would say you can pursue both, because you don't need internship for 2-3 years like CA. You can just do it in the last 1 year.
Yeah,
So you can pursue both. So that's what I would say. And one more thing is, when I sit in the boardrooms, there are only 2-3 positions where women are looked at
Sought after.
Yeah, sought after, or sought after, and women also seek such roles. One is in IT, I've seen HR, finance, treasury, and the other important role that I've seen is compliance and company secretary. So it's a way to get to the top slot, because company secretaries are key managerial personnel as defined in the Companies Act.
And they sign the financials. That's very important.
So I keep telling my company secretary, do you understand the numbers? Are you signing on my behalf? Or basing your trust on me to check the numbers?
But one thing is, one of the basic traits that all the finance professional needs to have. You think you can sit in the computers and work? No, you have to pick up the phone and talk. Talking is an integral part of your life. You can never escape talking. Pick up your phone and talk to people.
You're addressing to women.
No, but somewhere they are good with numbers.
No, I think it's a fair point you make. Yeah, so there are clearly, there are nice to haves, but there are also non-negotiables, and I think you bring out that point very, very clearly. I really appreciate that. I think this is a question from, I presume, from somebody from the BCom honors. MBA immediately after your undergrad or after work experience? I mean, this has been a perennially recurrent question.
Start somewhere. Whenever you think that there is a gap, please start. That I would say, but immediately after BCom, probably after work experience, you will know where you are, and then you can pursue. So which will actually do a gap analysis, spreadsheet, do all that, and then get into MBA. But having said that, getting back to academics, you ask me, I will know how difficult it is. So when you have a flow, you can finish it. However,
so you mean to say if you actually take a gap and then coming back to MBA,
it's difficult. It's difficult because especially women.
You get to taste financial independence very early on.
Exactly, and then going back might be a problem. Yeah, you want to add?
I agree. If you are not having financial burden, like you have to earn immediately, I would, or you are eyeing on a particular university, like you want to get into IIMs, or you have ISBs, or you want to go and study abroad. So unless you have a clear roadmap, I want to this, and I don't have financial freedom, then start working. Otherwise, I would urge do an MBA. So you wait. I would say that because it's earlier the better, so that you, instead of starting as a BCom, if you start as an MBA, the kind of people whom you interact with, the kind of organizations you will get into, gives you a different perspective, right? Your cohorts will be completely different.
Right. Wonderful. I hope those points have been taken note of. There's a related question, which is how can students actually ensure that what they learn through these certifications actually translate into employability? Because you often, hear about even people who have finished some of these certifications not landing up in meaningful employments.
Every time. I think there is a perfect correlation, I would say, between what you learn. It will never go waste. The knowledge that you earn, it will never go waste. It will come, see, in a conversation, it will give you a upper hand to discuss any unknown subject with confidence. Generally, what I have seen, especially women, they know so much, but they hesitate to talk. So the initial part, at least these kind of education and these kind of certifications, when there is a topic to be discussed, you will start the topic. So that will give them the immense confidence, I think. So whatever you learn will never go waste. So I wouldn't agree with that point.
Yeah, one more point, being a lady, in a corporate career, the icebreakers for any conversations generally tend to become very technical. So the kind of length and breadth of information and the knowledge you gather will help you get that edge and, you know, get that ice-breaking session, be it in an interview or you are just making a presentation to a CEO or an elevator pitch, whatever you want to call it as. Any skill, you know, none of the skills go unnoticed. When I was, back then when I was taking a career break, I was not so good in Excel. I joined a chartered accountancy firm as a partner, and then the children there were so good in Excel. Then I said, okay, I'm not good in Excel. Why don't I become an expert in Excel? So that 1 year I learned all the shortcuts. So when I became a boss, my 1 downs and 2 downs are struggling, and I will breeze it. Like, give it to me, I'll figure it out. So it's nothing is waste. You know, you pick up so many skills along the way. Communication, you know, languages, problem solving. So everything will come in handy. So please keep on putting more arrows into your
And when it comes to promotion, believe me, you have additional qualification, you will be recommended for promotion. So this is for somebody who wants to get into corporate. If you want to start on your own, that's a different story. But if you want to get into corporate, if you have better qualification, of course you would be considered probably slightly.
You have an edge.
So you have an edge. So probably you'll put into practice in a later stage, but it will fetch you, yes. Eventually, yes. May not immediate, but yes.
Excellent. So a related question, which is like, I have fear of numbers. Should I take electives in finance? This is something that as faculty we keep getting a lot. I tend to disagree to a great extent because I don't think that finance is all about numbers, and at least not in the current age, you know, with the way things have shaped up with AI and everything. But what are your thoughts on that? A lot of people, they've done their BCom honors, but when they come to MBA, they might consciously choose to not take electives in finance purely because of this reason. Is that something you observe a lot too, or? I mean, as faculty, this is something that we get to hear a lot.
Liking for numbers is something inevitable. You may not do the number crunching, okay, but you should be able to interpret the numbers. So that much of knowledge is essential. So, so your question was whether they can escape numbers, is it?
No, so so it's like, should I avoid taking electives in finance because I'm not a fan of numbers or I fear numbers, you know?
If they fear numbers, then definitely finance is not probably their piece of cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, simple thing is, if you are in finance, people start out as number crunchers only. That's how you start your number career at all. So if you are having, if you're averse or you're scared of numbers, I would say strongly, do not look at strong careers in finance. Look at something else.
But don't you think that whole scenario is changing substantially now?
Only
with
4 rules we follow. See, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Isse alzada, what do you do?
Exactly, right? Yeah, say it out once again.
See, universally, what is accountancy? For every debit, there is a corresponding equal credit. The same way. Where is complexity in this?
No, so is this because you're addressing to MBA, so that's why the debits and credits? No, you should not say debits and credits.
So that's why, okay. So I'm saying finance is all about simple mathematics skills. There is not even integral calculus. So have a heart.
No, my view is numbers don't lie, and all numbers tell a story. So if you, even with AI coming in, as you know, some of the models can go haywire, it can throw a different output. Data is everywhere, but how do you make sense of the data and draw insights and then do problem solving? So you're connecting all the three. So it is not just numbers tell a story, like the charts that he was explaining. So whether you are in marketing or something here, you need to understand your budgets. So you can be in compliance, but you need to understand your compliance cost, right? Reputation cost, compliance cost. So you can be in any department in the organization, but finance is an integral part. For the money you earn, you need to invest, right? Don't you want to build wealth? So how can you shy away from numbers?
And in fact, in God we trust. For everything else, we need numbers.
Yeah, I think Anand also said the same thing in his talk. You've substantially sold finance to to this community, I hope.
Yeah, see, simple mathematics. Stick to finance.
So a related thread on which there were some questions. And so in fact, just last week I was visited by an alumnus of the university, and I was asking him about, where he is, and he mentioned a company. I don't want to quote the name of the company. And I'd heard of the company because it was mentioned in Gartner's Magic Quadrant as one of the leaders in a specific category. But then I didn't know so much about what the company exactly does. So I asked him, so what is the company into? His answer was in one line, and believe me, this is how exactly he said it. He said, we make automations to do away with finance people.
That's
and so again, a very recurrent theme with AI, the future of finance and the relevance. So, if you look at the whole spectrum of roles, and this is something that came up earlier also, we have jobs from like the one end of the spectrum, which is like very basic number crunching, to accounting and whatever, reporting, and so on, to perhaps roles on the higher end of the spectrum where there's more about interpretation of data and making sense out of it. You mentioned the word storytelling, things of that sort. But it still remains a fact, and you see it, it stares at you on a nearly daily basis, that a lot of the low-end jobs in particular are sort of getting overthrown by AI, right? AI is extremely good at all of these structured tasks where it's more about complying with rules, obeying regulations, and so on, right? So in this scenario, the question from the student is like, how should students think about, what will be more valuable, right? What sort of skills?
Okay. I'll quickly tell a case, okay? It's about Zipline. You can Google it. It's a drone company, okay? What they did was, in Nigeria, when the roads are not you cannot reach from one place to another, life-saving blood was impossible for them to deliver from one place to another. So Zipline is a drone which will actually deliver the blood from one hospital to another hospital, and it will, by way of a small parachute, it will actually deliver. Look at the innovation. I want you to take the key from this story. Innovation and constantly reinventing yourself, and upskilling with thinking process. So not number crunching. Number crunching is going to be done by AI. But I think he also addressed it. Every time you have an iteration with a prompt, validate it and then do. So you would need people with thinking skills to validate the results. So we faced Y2K problem. We came over. And the world is going to come to an end. When was it? 2012? We came over. So I think we will constantly re-evolve with all this. So AI, I'm sure 5 years down the line, if someone is going to come here and address, they will address a different problem then. So AI is not going to be our problem. It's going to be our solution. And definitely not going to replace finance services unless it's going to be redundant work. It is going to remove all the redundant work. So upskill yourself and be the person who's going to decide. And it's not going to happen overnight. You have to work.
See, in terms of, I'll add a couple of points to what she just said, is that you are going to come into the workforce 2 years from now, right? I assume that after the discussions today, you're going to do a professional qualification or arm yourself with further certifications. So by the time you're going to come into workforce, the people who are already in that particular company doing a job which could be easily replaced are going to be taken away, and you are going to set the tone for the organization in terms of the skills you're going to bring to the table. So you have a wonderful opportunity to actually step back, equip yourself, and then join the workforce. So it's a different ball game. So it's not only upskilling, I'm saying you are actually reskilling yourself before you enter the workforce. Upskilling is for people who are already in the workforce, who are currently in the job right now, and then who are looking at mid-level career progression, and then they are worried about AI. So you guys are actually beautifully poised from that perspective.
two things. One is you should be able to equip yourself with not just certifications, but also look at, how do I make sense of, how do I understand data? How do I, crunch data with, say, Python or everything. Now you can use AI to write the codes. Earlier, Python training was something that was given and imparted for large people who handle large amount of data or people who are data scientists only. Now, finance people also. In my teams, lot of my younger generation, Gen Zs, 25, 30-year-olds who are working, they all understand Python. They know how to use Power BI, they know how to use Tableau. Even the regulators who come for inspection, they are fully trained. So you cannot just use Excel now. Excel is the thing of our past. Like I had Excel skills for 2010, that might help me, but not anymore. So you equip yourself with technical skills from that perspective. So don't think finance means I'll only understand numbers, I don't know how technology works. So understanding technology and embracing technology is very, very important. So please look out for courses other than the professional certifications and come equipped. Upskill, come equipped. So you will be a different workforce altogether starting from day one.
In fact, data scientists, they will become an operational role.
Exactly.
So that's what is going to be the future. So if you are claiming yourself as a data scientist, that's yet another operational work.
And you're not going to have separate IT teams. We are going to have built in our own intelligence, finance intelligence within the finance function itself. So if you are somebody who understands technology much better than anybody else in the office, you're going to be the person who understands the process, and you are going to convert or you leverage technology to bring the job done in a much faster way. You can call any term AI, chatbots, you can use any term or any jargon, but literally that's what it means, and that's what you're going to deliver to as value to the job and to the organization.
So if I were to just paraphrase you, essentially the nature of roles is sort of evolving.
It's evolving.
So perhaps from like just doing like an entry or putting it through an accounting software, perhaps now roles that demand more of interpretability and making sense out of the numbers, storytelling like Anand said, those, and asking the right questions, because now you can have all of the financial modeling, the stress testing scenario and all of that built in, handed on a platter to you by AI, but then the question is asking the right questions. So like why? Or
wonderfully the children are trained. So when he showed the chart, there was a girl who interpreted it perfectly. So they are actually getting trained. Have the confidence that you are in the right way. That's what I would say. Believe in yourself.
So be curious as well, right? Even if your manager, it depends upon what sort of organizations you get into. Align it with what your interests are. That's what I would say. If you want to be a small fish in a big pond or a fish in a smaller pond, startups. There were one question on should I join startups or large organizations. I would say, pick roles that are, that you like, you want to build in, and bring the necessary skills to the table. It doesn't matter whether you're going to do a startup or a large organization, you'll figure your way out. It's a marathon at the end of the day, right? I don't want it to be a shorter sprint for women out here.
And in fact, a big fish in a small pond is something I would recommend to all the women here. Just go all out, you can try. We can, okay, it's not working, we can always come back and take another. The age is on their side.
Wonderful. So this is actually a theme that came to my mind because a lot of people use these words, people use the word fragile, people use the word resilient. I think you also spoke about it. There's this very interesting book written by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, right? The book is called Anti-Fragile. So what he says is that resilient or robust is not the opposite of fragile. Fragile is something that breaks, it cannot withstand shocks. Robust or resilient is something that can withstand shocks, but then he goes one step further and says that anti-fragile is something that, in fact, the undertitle of the book is things that gain from disorder. What are the, it's a related question. So what are those anti-fragiles that you see from a skill/career capital point of view for the students?
Okay, so you want
which may or may not necessarily be based on, I'm sorry, I'm leading you to something, but then which may or may not necessarily be based on something like a certification or whatever, but there might be some anti-fragile element out there which you've got to identify and latch on to.
Okay, in 2010, when I actually started working for a corporate, I never knew what was due diligence. I only read about it, but I was actually put in one of the top at that year top 10 acquisitions. In fact, I knew nothing about it. But what became a success was I never gave up. I had the right people, I learnt it, otherwise I had someone who knew the work well. I think the success lies there. You should never give up, even if it's an unknown territory. Take a plunge, but don't be stupid. You have to read, learn in the process. But just because you don't know something doesn't mean that you cannot take a plunge. I think that would be the starting point.
Excellent. I think that was very well said. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I also had a similar experience. My view, because we are women tend to be little perfectionist, right? So one key trait I had to unlearn, moving from perfectionism to execution, right? Sometimes, even when you're a leader, not everything is in front of you. You will not be able to, you will not have the time to analyze everything and say,
Yes.
okay, if this happens, and this happens. Sometimes you got to go with your gut feel and the decision. So you will make wrong decisions, but you will have, you have two choices. Make small mistakes, learn, and then build it big. Or, be 80% there, figure out, like she said, take the plunge, and then go. So the perfectionism doesn't apply in real world. So I would say focus on execution.
In fact, people will intimidate you. They will put you down.
Get the job done.
Yeah, and they can be ruthless. And all the three are inevitable in a corporate world. And especially, I'm so sorry, there are many men who are very, very supportive. But there are people who would actually intimidate you. Especially for women, never fear. Never fear. That's one thing I have learned is you have Swami with you. No one else has. You have Swami with you. You have nothing to fear about. Go all out and try.
Wonderful. I'm afraid we sort of have a hard stop here because there's another program lined up in today's schedule. They have a farewell today.
Okay.
So I'm just going to have, this is supposed to be a fireside chat, but I'm going to, for just a minute, make it a rapid fire and just ask you one question.
One line answer.
You can choose section A, B, C. The choice is yours. So yeah, one line, just to keep it brief. So, the three top attitude, we spoke a lot about, the rest of the hard side of things, if you will, but the three top things from an attitude mindset that you'd like to leave them with.
No clock watcher, negotiation skills, and fearless. Put your head down and work. There's no shortcut.
Say that again.
Oh my God.
No clock watcher.
No clock watcher.
Elaborate that. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, when you start your career, please go all out. Don't look at the clock and see you will clock in for 8 hours. You will have to work for slog. People, that will pay off. We're all here because of immense Swami's grace. But from our side, I've slogged. I knew what was my weakness. I strengthened it over the years.
So don't overthink work-life balance initially.
Nothing at all. Go all out and work, man. What else we have to do? You want to succeed in your career. See, there are two options for you. You want to set up your family, give it all, super, awesome, congrats. Give it all. But you want to be a successful career, don't fall in between. You have to reach the top. And for that, you have to put your head down and work and work and work. And you have to be, and if you're super intelligent, probably you can work for 11 hours, or if you're like normal people like all of us, 12 hours minimum. Clock in. And don't watch the clock.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
She has made my job a little difficult, but I'll figure out completely 3 different things. One is communication. You sit in a room, you might be the only one in the room. You have to make your voice heard. So please work on your communication skills. The over-technical people tend to overcomplicate, especially finance. I had done that. So I used to be called a scholar. So I had to figure out how to explain an expected credit loss model to a CEO in 2 minutes. So I have done that. I have worked hard to get to where I am today. So communication is one important thing. Second thing I just talked about, remove your perfection. You cannot be a perfection mother, perfection is wife, perfection is sister-in-law, daughter-in-law, mother, daughter, everything. No, you can't have everything all at the same time. So remove your perfectionist hat, just go execute. Whatever you are having at that point in time, your only strength is execution. Technical execution, confidence, communication. That's it.
I think that the second one is a message for me also. I definitely take that. Get the job done. Don't think about perfecting it necessarily. Really appreciate that.
Believe me, I worked on all of them. I didn't come prepared. When I was 18 years old, just walking into Price Waterhouse, I still remember the day very vividly in my mind.
Also, I think your first point, 100% agree on that, communication, because, of late, no offense to anybody here, but then of late, when I get an email from the student, it is so amazing because obviously you know the source, like it's like so very well,
English.
it's so very well drafted and like
flowery Shakespeare English and everything.
Yeah, the fire test is verbal communication. So I guess that's what you meant, right? So that's a point
verbal communication.
Verbal
That's when you can
communication.
tell the story, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Completely agree with that. And I think on that note, we'll wind up this session and I hand it over to Dr. Jayashree to take it ahead. Thank you, everybody. I hope you had a nice session.
Thank you so much. We had a wonderful session with.
Thank you, Sairam.
Thank you, panel, for sharing your valuable perspectives, suggestions, and experiences, which have given us much to reflect upon. Your light humor on how life carved out your paths is indeed inspiring for us to hold on to what life offers us in its own unique ways. Some of the key takeaways which we could introspect upon from this fireside chat session include: having ceiling on desires for the right reasons, as wisely and humorously shared by Miss Meena Srinath. Upskilling oneself is the only way by putting one's head down and working for long-term success. No clock watchers and negotiation skills will work. Picking up something like courses that one would be comfortable at is the best way to start one's career, and communication being an integral part of a financial professional, whether they are into computing, analyzing, or auditing. And lastly, never giving up even in an unknown territory by learning and relearning. These were some of the key fruitful key takeaways we could carry from this room. Hence, your discussion across a wide range of incidents made the session engaging and fruitful, as they were enriched with practical real-life cases. Thank you once again, panel. As we draw this wonderful CFO Conclave to a close, I would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished panel for gracing us with their presence today. We would now like to present each of our esteemed speakers with a sincere token of our gratitude. I now request our distinguished faculty, Professor C.N. Kshetrajna, Head of Department G. Padmavati, and Financial Officer SSIHL, to kindly come forward and present the token of gratitude to our speakers. And now, to formally close the CFO Conclave session with a vote of thanks, I'm delighted to invite someone who truly embodies the spirit of dedication, scholarship, and service to education. Please welcome Dr. Jayashree, Assistant Professor in the Department of Management and Commerce in the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, where she has been an inspiring presence for nearly 7 years. Dr. Jayashree holds a PhD in Commerce from Presidency College, University of Madras, and a Master's in Philosophy with first class, building on a teaching career that spans over 15 years across institutions in Chennai and Anantapur. A researcher at heart, she has recently published work on the role of investment advisors in personal financial planning and on social media's role in advancing financial inclusion among Gen Z investors, which was featured in a Springer Nature publication. Her research reflects a wonderful alignment with the very themes we have explored in today's session. We would also like to sincerely appreciate her valuable contribution to the coordination of the CFO Conclave, playing a key role behind the scenes in making this event a success. With these few words, we welcome Dr. Jayashree. Dr. Jayashree.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Good evening to the distinguished guests, administrators, and faculty members, and my dear students. So I have been given the responsibility to formally deliver the vote of thanks to mark the completion of this CFO Conclave, Finance with Value, Shaping Responsible Leaders for Tomorrow. My first duty is to bow to my Guru Nather, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who has showered his grace and rewarded all our efforts. If not for his grace, it wouldn't have brought achievers of great caliber to this forum and made this event to our satisfaction and to the satisfaction of everyone. I hope we have done justice to this forum, and we wish to carry forward with the legacy and the spirit that we carry. Our students help us in doing that so. Thank you for one and all for this. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our Chancellor, Sri K. Chakravarti, retired IAS officer, for gracing this occasion and accepting our invitation on the first go. And our special thanks to our Chief Guest, Ms. Sandhya Vasudevan, who graced the earlier part of the day program and shared her valuable insight with us, reflecting the essence of finance guided by value, where she balanced emotion and perfection. Our heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed speakers who are present here, Ms. Sandhya Vasudevan, Ms. Meena Srinath, Rupa Sampath Kumar, Kritika Giridhari, and Anand Chatri sir, along with our panel member, Dr. Subramaniam sir, who had taken up the step to support us in making this event all the more success. Each one of you have brought a unique dimension to the theme, translating it from concept into a real-world practice. Your expertise has helped us understand the finance today is not just about performance, but also a responsibility, a resilient, and trust. Our deepest thanks to Sai Manohar sir, the director of the Brindavan campus, for being instrumental in bringing all the resource person to this Anantapur campus at the year-end, flag end of the financial year. So we are deeply grateful to you, sir, and we depend upon you, count on you for many more achievements. Our respect to Mr. Lakshmi Narasimhan, sir, finance officer, who supported us in all means and is being cooperating with us for our request, and we are very grateful for your presence here, sir. Our sincere thanks to the Brindavan faculty members who have come all the way here, Kshetrajna sir and others who are watching live from Brindavan other campus, and all the students and fellow alumni, our previous batch students are watching this program online. So we are very grateful and thankful for this energy and spirit they maintain with all of us. So it is my sincere gratitude. I have to express my sincere thanks to the director of the campus, Professor Rani PL, the warden, Dr. Meena Manikavachagam, Deputy Director, Professor Deepa Sitaraman, Deputy Warden, Nutan Madiwal and Lakshmi Naidu ma'am, who were very cooperative, and whatever we could request, they were able to accommodate our request till the last moment. All the alterations they were able to accommodate for us, and we are very, very, very grateful to all of them. Our special thanks to our dear professor, my dear professor, Dr. Dean, Professor N. Shivakumar sir, who was my teacher, and I am being appointed under his guidance. So I am very much grateful for his support to all my endeavor and our department endeavor. And my sincere thanks to Dr. Padmavati G. Padmavati. She has been a pillar of support to us. Come what may, she tells, carry on ma'am, we will take care of this. So her confidence and zeal has helped us to support us. And my convener of the program, Dr. Akansha Agarwal ma'am, who was greatest pillar and support, and all our department teachers, Shweta ma'am, Jayaprada ma'am, not to forget Priyanka ma'am. So I can keep on mentioning names. I hope I have not forgotten any of them. So the invisible hands in the faculty team, I express my sincere thanks to one and all, and my dedicated thanks to the student community who have organized this program very successfully, and their support is there. Without their support, their panel deliverance in the very short span of time, in spite of their assignment and end semester preparation, they could come out with colorful, very, very energetic and technical round of preparation with posters and panel. We are very happy to have such a wonderful kids, and we look forward more financial roles are open to you. And our sincere thanks to all the audio-visual support that has been extended from Prashanthi Nilayam also, and also from our campus technical support team, office staffs, kitchen staffs especially, who were deliciously relishing us with all the foods, and all the efforts that behind us, Annas, Akas, who are helping us to make the decoration possible for us. With all the reflection of today, kindly forgive me if I have forgotten any of them. In my heart and soul, I just pay my obeisance to all of them as a sincere thanks to everyone. As we reflect on today's discussion, one message stands clear. Finance is no longer just about numbers. It is about value that guide those numbers. It is about making decisions that are not only profitable, but also sustainable and responsible. With this, we come to the close of today's program. Let us carry forward the responsibility to use knowledge with integrity and purpose. Thank you all once again for your presence here, your time and your valuable contribution. Jai Sai Ram. We now close this program with Mahamangala Arati, offering Aarti to Swami.
ॐ जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्तजना संरक्षक भक्तजना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपद्बान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे మాతపితా గురుదైవము మరి అంతయు నీవే స్వామి మరి అంతయు నీవే నాద బ్రహ్మ జగన్నాథ నాద బ్రహ్మ జగన్నాథ నాగేంద్రాశయన ఓం జయ జగదీశ హరి ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी ओ साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंदुको मंगल आरती अंदुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरि नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति शांति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
Small request, I request all the guests to assemble in the common room